Chapter 480. After pondering for a moment, Yu decided to tell Hichu the answer. It's a type of lethal poison that can even kill an immortal emperor. Old Master Shangwan's expression changed. Lethal poison? Old Master Shangwan couldn't help but think of the past. Back then, the enemy wasn't a poison expert. However, if I'm not wrong, the lethal poison in my body should have been left behind by him. Back then, Old Master Shangwan tried his best to kill that enemy, but he didn't have it easy either. He was severely injured. It was from then on that Old Master Shangwan's body had problems. However, if Yu hadn't probed the Old Master's Dantian with his life force, the Old Master might not have discovered the lethal poison until he died. That lethal poison was so cunning that even the Old Master himself couldn't discover it. It can even poison an immortal emperor to death. It seems that it won't be long before my strength can no longer suppress this lethal poison, the Old Master said with a sigh. Hichu, what's the solution? At this moment, Yu asked Hichu in his mind. I'm not sure what this lethal poison is. However, as long as I use the yin-yang flame, I can burn it clean. Yu rolled his eyes. If he used the yin-yang flame in the Old Master's Dantian, not to mention the lethal poison, even the Old Master's entire Dantian, or even his entire body, might be burned to ashes. This was not feasible unless he could expel the lethal poison. However, even the Old Master didn't have the ability to expel it, so it was even more impossible for Yu to do so with his current strength. There's another way. Why don't you give it a try? Hichu continued. You saw it just now? That lethal poison likes to devour life force. That's why things go in the opposite direction when they reach an extreme. If your life force is strong enough, you can purify it. Strong enough? How strong is it? Can it be purified with your current life force? Yu frowned slightly. When you were still in the golden immortal realm, your life force wasn't enough. But now, as long as you are careful, there should be no problem. After he broke through to the Xian immortal stage, the tree of life in Yu's Dantian started to grow rapidly. It had grown from 10,000 kilometers to 100,000 kilometers tall. The tree of life, which was 100,000 miles tall, could really be said to be standing on the ground with its feet on the ground and its head on the sky. Of course, while the tree of life was expanding, Yu's Dantian had also expanded countless times. As of now, Yu's Dantian was like a small world, and the tree of life was the only life in that small world, growing branches and leaves. Now that the tree of life had reached a height of 100,000 miles, its roots were longer and more numerous than before. The amount of primal chaos energy absorbed from a void was 10 times, dozens of times, or even more than before. Whether it was the power of chaos or the power of life, they were at least dozens of times stronger than before. Maybe we can give it a try. However, he had to be careful. Otherwise, once he's infected, he'll definitely die. Yu pondered in his heart and then looked at Old Master Shangwan. Seeing that Yu was frowning and not saying anything, Old Master Shangwan didn't say anything either. At this moment, when he saw Yu looking at him, Old Master Shangwan said, "Little brother, if this matter can't be solved, then forget it." Old Master Shangwan didn't believe that Yu could help him expel the poison that could even kill an immortal emperor. Although Yu's power of life was very miraculous, Yu's strength was really too low. I have an idea that we can give a try. However, Old Master, if this method fails, it might cause the poison to go on a rampage. At that time, your life force and power will be devoured even faster. Old Master, you decide whether you want to give it a try or not. Yu slowly explained his method and the dangers. Old Master Shangwan's eyes flashed. He pondered for a moment and then said, "Little brother, I believe in you. Anyway, even if I don't take the risk, my old life will be wasted. If this time is right, then I can live for a few more years, haha." Yu's eyes flashed, and he admired Old Master Shangwan even more. The old man was gambling with his life. Although you couldn't be sure how long Old Master Shangwan could live, it was uncertain. However, if there were any mistakes in the treatment this time, Old Master Shangwan could die on the spot. However, Old Master Shangwan agreed to all of this without any hesitation. This showed his magnanimity and magnanimity. Let me make the arrangements first. As he spoke, Old Master Shangwan began to arrange a series of things through voice transmission. At the same time, Morong Yu took the opportunity to adjust his breathing to its peak state. Okay, little brother, you can begin. Not long after, Old Master Shangwan arranged everything and then looked at Morong Yu with bright eyes. Okay. Morong Yu placed his hands on Old Master Shangwan's body. Immediately, a torrent of life force entered Old Master Shangwan's body and soon entered his dantian. Rumble. Just like before, the moment the life force entered his dantian, the poison hidden in his dantian exploded. It erupted with a terrifying devouring power and began to devour the life force. However, the life force that entered this time was like a torrent. Although the devouring power of the poison was terrifying, it couldn't devour all of the life force in an instant. At the same time, the tree of life in Morong Yu's dantian began to absorb the chaotic energy wildly and turned it into life force. Then, an endless torrent of life force was transmitted to Morong Yu's limbs and bones. Through Morong Yu's hands, it entered Old Master Shangwan's body. What a terrifying life force! When Old Master Shangwan saw the raging waves of life force, he was instantly shocked to the point where he couldn't be any more shocked. As this life force flowed through his body, the old man felt the power in his body become even purer. Not only did it heal Old Master Shangwan's hidden injuries, but it also tempered his physical body and experience, making him stronger. What kind of power is this? It can even temper my physical body and strength? Old Master Shangwan was shocked. At his level, if he wanted to further refine his physical body and strength, even he could only do it slowly, one step at a time. However, Morong Yu's life force was able to directly refine his physical body and strength. It was even more terrifying than when he was at his peak. After the torrential life force surged into Old Master Shangwan's dantian, although the devouring power of the poison was terrifying, it couldn't devour so much life force. After all, although the poison was terrifying, it was only the size of a pinky finger. Morong Yu's eyes glinted when he saw that the poison wasn't able to completely engulf the old man's body. He began to direct his life force into the old man's dantian and quickly surrounded the ball of poison. The poison was still devouring the life force quickly, but there was too much life force. It was 10 times or even 100 times more than what it could devour. Therefore, the small ball of poison was immediately surrounded. If I can use the yin-yang flame, I can burn it directly. Morong Yu muttered to himself as he looked at the poison surrounded by the life force. However, this was only Morong Yu's thought. This was an Old Master Shangwan's dantian, so he didn't dare to use the yin-yang flame. Since I can't use the yin-yang flame, I'll use the life force to purify you. Morong Yu sneered and began to control a large amount of life force to wash over the poison. The life force was on the same level as the chaotic power. In some ways, it was even more advanced than the chaotic power. It had an extremely strong life force. Poison was an existence that killed life force. It was a natural enemy of life force. Therefore, when Morong Yu controlled a large amount of life force to rush over, rumble, boundless life force directly submerged the poison. Although part of the life force was devoured, Morong Yu was pleasantly surprised to see that the black poison had dimmed a little. Although it wasn't obvious, it was at least effective. Morong Yu was overjoyed. He immediately controlled more life force to wash over the poison. Rumble. The poison continued to devour the life force. However, under the constant purification of the life force, the poison began to dim. The purification was taking effect. The poison is getting bigger. Suddenly, Old Master Shangwan, who had been watching but didn't speak, exclaimed. Morong Yu's body shook. He looked over, and his eyebrows immediately darkened. Although the poison was much dimmer than before, it was also much bigger than before. It must have absorbed a large amount of life force and continued to grow. At the same time, Muronyu also felt that the poison was devouring more life force than before. At this rate, before Muronyu could purify it, the poison would become even bigger and its devouring power would become even more terrifying. It would become even harder to purify. After purifying it for a while, Muronyu's face became even more gloomy. The speed of purification was slower than the growth of the poison. However, although the poison was growing, its color didn't darken. Instead, it became dimmer. The poison is growing, but its toxicity is gradually decreasing. Old Master, do you think we should continue? Muronyu asked in a low voice. If this continued, the gigantic might become bigger and more numerous. However, its toxicity would become weaker and weaker. Continue, why not continue? As long as its toxicity isn't as scary as before, he won't be scary anymore. Old Master Shangwan said in a low voice. He decided to continue. Nonsense. With Muronyu around, it would be strange if he didn't continue. Otherwise, where would he find a divine doctor like Muronyu when he wanted to treat him in the future? Old Master Shangwan was sure that Murongyu's terrifying life force was absolutely unique in the immortal world. Chapter 481. If he missed this opportunity, he did not know if there would be another one like this in the future. Hence, the old man did not even need to think before he agreed. After getting the old man's approval, Muronyu began to increase the amount of life force he injected into the old man's body. Muronyu's guess was right. As more life force entered the old man's body, the small ball of poison in the old man's dantian continued to grow. However, as the poison grew, the color on the surface of the poison also became lighter. Of course, this did not mean that the poison would become lighter just because the color became lighter. Another reason was that as the poison continued to grow, the poison in the dantian continued to disperse, causing the poison to become lighter. However, no matter what the situation was, it was a good thing for old Master Shangwan and Muronyu. As long as the poison became lighter and less terrifying, it would be easier for Muronyu to purify it. In the blink of an eye, 3 days had passed under the willow tree. In these 3 days, Muronyu continuously injected life force into old Master Shangwan's dantian. At this time, Muronyu was already sweating profusely. His face was pale, and he looked exhausted. Little brother, you should rest for a while. Old Master Shangwan said again. The life force continued to be injected into his body. In these 3 days, Muronyu had already injected an uncountable amount of energy. If it was an ordinary mystic immortal, he would have collapsed long ago. However, Muronyu's power seemed to be limitless, as if it could never be used up. However, Grandpa Murong knew that Muronyu was putting up a brave front. He knew it from his performance. It's okay, I can still hold on. I'm about to succeed. Muronyu shook his head and did not stop. Instead, he continued to purify the poison in the old man's dantian that had already swelled to the size of a palm. Of course, the poison now was different from the previous pitch-black poison. At this time, the poison was close to becoming transparent. Along with the weakening of the toxicity, their devouring power was also gradually weakening. Therefore, although Muronyu's power was gradually decreasing, it did not slow down the purification effect. During this process, old Master Shangwan could clearly feel his life force and strength gradually slowing down. At the same time, his dantian's power, which was like a raging storm, was no longer as crazy as before. Although it had not completely calmed down, it was much better than before. Little brother, you should recover first. There's no need to rush, old Master Shangwan said. He knew that the poison in his dantian had been cured by Muronyu. Muronyu, who had cured him, was equivalent to his benefactor. He did not want anything to happen to Muronyu. Since that's the case, old man, try to force the poison out or refine it. Let me recover first. Muronyu withdrew his hand and said. Old Master Shangwan nodded and began to try to force out the palm-sized ball of poison. Muronyu sat cross-legged at the side and began to recover. The power of life is really magical. It can even purify such a strong poison. Muronyu, who was sitting cross-legged on the bed, did not recover. Instead, he fell into deep thought. In fact, everything on the surface was just an act. With the constant power provided by the Tree of Life, Muronyu's power would not be depleted at all. However, even if that was the case, Muronyu still had to pretend. Otherwise, it would be far too shocking. And that's because you're not strong enough. If you're stronger, the Tree of Life will be even stronger. By then, the quality of the life force will rise to a whole new level, and the effect will be even more terrifying, he too said. Muronyu nodded. He also noticed this phenomenon. Although the power of life was still the power of life, there was still a huge difference between the power of life now and the power of life at the beginning. In other words, the power of life could also be upgraded. The higher the level, the more terrifying the effect. Not only that, but even Muronyu's power of chaos was the same. Although his current power was also called the power of chaos, there was still a huge gap between it and the real power of chaos. Time passed, and in a flash, 3 days had passed. In 3 days, the fatigue that Muronyu had originally pretended to be was swept away. However, his face was still a little pale, showing that the injuries he had suffered from overexertion had not completely healed. During this process, Muronyu would occasionally send his divine thought into Old Master Shangwan's dantian. When he saw that Old Master Shangwan was refining the poison, he was relieved. Boom! On this day, Old Master Shangwan, who was sitting cross-legged on the bed refining the poison, suddenly erupted with an extremely terrifying power. However, although this aura was powerful and terrifying, it was only a flash in the pan. After it erupted, Old Master Shangwan had already restrained it. After that powerful aura burst out, Old Master Shangwan's body changed again. His aura continued to rise, and Old Master Shangwan's vitality, which was originally a little low, was now gradually rising. It was unknown whether it was because Muronyu's power of life had transformed his body, or because he had successfully refined the poison in his dantian. His strength and lifespan had both increased. Old Master Shangwan, who had been suppressed by the poison for many years, had finally succeeded in refining the poison. In the future, he would no longer be troubled by the poison, and his strength and vitality would no longer be devoured. After a long time, Old Master Shangwan finally woke up. The moment he opened his eyes, 2 rays of light flashed and then disappeared. At the same time, the powerful aura on Old Master Shangwan's body disappeared, and he returned to being the amiable uncle next door. Seeing that Old Master Shangwan had woken up, Muronyu immediately smiled and congratulated him. Congratulations, Old Master Shangwan, for completely refining the poison. Your strength has recovered, and you've become even younger. Haha, little brother, it's all thanks to you. If it wasn't for you, I'm afraid my old bones would have been buried soon. Old Master Shangwan laughed and said, even if it wasn't for me, Old Master Shangwan wouldn't have been so easily defeated by the poison. Muronyu said modestly, haha, don't be so modest. Just by the fact that you've cured my injuries, you're much more powerful than those so-called godly doctors. Here, please accept my bow. Old Master Shangwan came down and was about to bow to Muronyu. Muronyu was shocked and hurriedly dodged. No, Old Master Shangwan, aren't you shortening my lifespan? Muronyu was really shocked. What was Old Master Shangwan's status? Moreover, he had a good relationship with him, and he had already treated Old Master Shangwan as the uncle next door. After accepting his bow, Muronyu was really afraid that his lifespan would be shortened. Little brother, you've cured me, so you can accept this bow. If you don't accept it, then you're looking down on me. Unknowingly, Old Master Shangwan changed the way he addressed Muronyu from little brother to little brother, and now he even called himself Old Master Shangwan. Obviously, he wanted to be friends with Muronyu as an equal. Muronyu was helpless and could only accept Old Master Shangwan's bow in the end. Ha, little brother, let's go for a drink. Old Master Shangwan must thank you properly. What do you need? As long as I have the ability, I'll definitely get it for you. Old Master Shangwan was very enthusiastic. There's no need for that. I only treated you because I got along well with my brother. You don't have to pay me. Morongyu said with a smile. How can that be? Payment is a must. As they spoke, the two of them had already walked out of the door of the room. However, Morongyu was given a fright the moment he stepped out. At the door, a group of more than 10 people stood side by side in front of the door, all of them nervously staring at the door. Morongyu glanced at these people. Other than Shangwan Jingjing, he didn't recognize anyone else. However, these people weren't weak. Among them, there were even immortal monarchs. When they saw Morongyu and Old Master Shangwan talking and laughing as they walked out, the expressions of the group of people at the door instantly became very interesting. They were all shocked and looked at Morongyu and Old Master Shangwan in disbelief. In fact, most of their gazes were on Morongyu. They didn't dare to look at Old Master Shangwan so presumptuously. Father, grandfather, Old Master Shangwan. After the shock, everyone immediately reacted and bowed respectfully to Morongyu. Morongyu jumped in fright. Of course, he knew that these people weren't bowing to him. After all, Old Master Shangwan was the only one beside him. In other words, Old Master Shangwan was the Shangwan family's Old Master Shangwan. Morongyu felt a little dizzy. He actually unintentionally cured the Shangwan family's Old Master. Moreover, what made Morongyu even more speechless was that the grandfather just now came from Shangwan Jingjing's mouth. In other words, Shangwan Jingjing was Old Master Shangwan's granddaughter. He didn't expect Shangwan Jingjing's background to be so big. Morongyu muttered in his heart. He originally thought that Shangwan Jingjing was just an ordinary disciple of the Shangwan family. What are you all doing here? After knowing about Father's matter, we were a little worried, so we came to wait. A middle-aged man who looked somewhat similar to Shangwan Jingjing said respectfully. With little brother Morong here, what are you all worried about? If there's nothing else, you all can go back. I'm already fine. Old Master Shangwan waved his hand and ordered them to leave. No one was unhappy. On the contrary, each of them looked at Old Master Shangwan with a happy expression. Father, you're really fine? Nonsense. Do you think I would lie to you all? Hurry up and go back. I want to thank little brother Morong properly. Don't disturb me. Old Master Shangwan said impatiently. Good, good. Everyone was happy in their hearts and hurriedly left. However, when everyone left, their gazes towards Morongyu, especially Shangwan Jingjing's, were filled with a strange expression. Chapter 482. Morongyu was dragged to the best restaurant in the city by Old Master Shangwan. According to Old Master Shangwan, he wanted to thank Morongyu. Jingjing, your friend Morongyu's medical skills are so amazing. After retreating from Morongyu's manor, Shangwan Jingjing and the rest did not disperse. Instead, they came to a large hall. At this moment, the current patriarch of the Shangwan family, Shangwan De, who had the strength of an immortal monarch, asked Shangwan Jingjing with a questioning gaze. A few days after Shangwan Jingjing returned, she told the patriarch of the Shangwan family everything that had happened. After knowing that Shangwan Jingjing had returned, Shangwan De naturally ordered the experts of the Shangwan family to retreat. After all, Shangwan Jingjing had returned. As for revenge, after figuring out the situation, they would naturally take action. After all, the Shangwan family was a big power in the immortal world. If they allowed others to make a move on them while they remained indifferent, wouldn't it make them seem cowardly? If that happened, wouldn't anyone dare to make a move on the Shangwan family in the future? After Shangwan Jingjing returned, she was busy for a few days. It was because of this that she did not have time to look for Morongyu. It was also because of this that Morongyu was fortunate enough to meet Old Master Shangwan. It was also because of this that Old Master Shangwan was cured by Morongyu. All of this could be said to be a coincidence. Hearing this, Shangwan Jingjing shook her head slightly with a blank face. I also did not know that his medical skills were so terrifying. Shangwan Jingjing naturally knew that Morongyu had a certain level of medical skills. After all, he was the one who cured her. She also told this matter to Shangwanda. However, they did not expect Morong Yu's medical skills to be so shocking. Even old Master Shangwan's injuries had been healed. As the core members of the Shangwan family, they knew what was wrong with old Master Shangwan's body. It was something that almost all the divine doctors in the immortal world could not cure. On the other hand, Morong Yu had only used a few days to cure old Master Shangwan. Such frightening medical skills were truly world-shaking. If Morong Yu knew what they were thinking, he would definitely laugh secretly. How could he know any medical skills? All of this was related to the life force. If there was no life force, Morong Yu would not know any treatment methods at all. After pondering for a moment, Shangwanda suddenly said, "Give Morong Yu all the spatial crystals, Yuan meteor stones, and dark space stones he needs. Give him 50 kilograms of each type." Patriarch. Hearing Shangwanda's words, everyone present was shocked. Even Shangwan Jingjing was looking at her father with a shocked expression. Before this, Su to Shangwan Jingjing, Shangwan Jingjing's to Shangto Shangwan's. Although Morong Yu had safely escorted Shangwan Jingjing back, Suda, as well as some people from the Shangwan family, absolutely refused when they found out that Morong Yu's condition was these three materials. They would rather use other treasures as compensation. After all, these three materials were too rare and precious. Even the Shangwan family did not have many of them. However, they did not expect Shangwanda to give all three materials at once. Moreover, it was 50 kilograms of each type. This was almost all of their stock. Patriarch, you can't do this. These materials are too rare. 50 kilograms of each type is almost all of our stock. Once we give it to Morong Yu, we will have nothing left. It will be difficult to get more in the future. An elder of the Shangwan family, called Shangwan Bao, walked out and said with a frown. At the same time, the other people in the hall also objected. It was not that they were stingy and did not want to give Morong Yu these things. It was because these materials were too expensive. They would rather use other treasures, even if they were more valuable, to give Morong Yu. Shangwanda slowly glanced at the crowd. After everyone quieted down, he slowly said, Morong Yu escorted Jingjing back safely from the Lingnan region. During this time, Morong Yu was almost killed by the experts who were chasing after him. As for Morong Yu, he only needed Yuan meteor stones. Just this alone is enough for us to give him. After all, Jingjing's life is not something that can be compared to those materials. In addition, he also healed the old patriarch. The old patriarch is the pillar of our Shangwan family. It's not like you don't know the old patriarch's condition. Without Morong Yu, how long would the old patriarch last? Everyone was silent and did not speak. They knew the old patriarch's body. If Morong Yu did not save him, he would not have many years left. Furthermore, even if the old patriarch could live for a long time, his power would continue to decline. As the pillar of the Shangwan family, it could be said that the old patriarch was protecting and supporting the entire Shangwan family. Once the old patriarch falls, the Shangwan family would fall as well. When that time comes, not only would the Shangwan family lose a few hundred kilograms of precious materials, they would lose everything. You should know that once the old patriarch falls, the Shangwan family would face a difficult situation. However, the old patriarch would be fine. Based on his power, I believe that he would return to his peak condition soon and become even more powerful than before. As long as the old patriarch is alive, as long as we have his protection, the Shangwan family will never fall. Jingjing's life, the old patriarch's life, and even the fate of the entire Shangwan family were saved by Morong Yu. If it wasn't for Morong Yu, the Shangwan family might not have fallen in the near future. Think about it. If we only give a few hundred kilograms of precious materials to Morong Yu, would that be enough to offset his kindness to the Shangwan family? Everyone fell silent. After hearing Shangwanda's words, everyone came to their senses. Giving Morong Yu these materials was really not enough to repay even 1/10,000th of the favor. I'm ashamed. We were too narrow-minded and short-sighted. Shangwan Bao said embarrassedly. Other than that, Morong Yu is also a divine doctor. He was able to cure the old patriarch, whom countless divine doctors couldn't cure. His medical skills have far surpassed those so-called divine doctors. Although he isn't strong and is only a mystic immortal, his medical skills are so brilliant. Just this alone means that his status is not lower than ours. In fact, it's even higher than ours. It's only right for us to befriend such a powerful expert. Moreover, Muronyu possesses such terrifying medical skills. I believe that not long after, his name will spread throughout the immortal world. When that time comes, he will definitely have many powerful followers by his side. In the immortal world, although they were all powerful immortals, they weren't omnipotent. They might be able to treat common injuries and so on. However, some of the more serious injuries couldn't be treated by themselves. At this time, they needed the help of those divine doctors. After the divine doctors helped them, they would naturally be grateful. At the very least, they would owe the divine doctors a favor. Moreover, who could guarantee that they wouldn't get hurt while traveling in the immortal world? Would there be a day when they would need to see a doctor? If you offended a godly doctor, once you suffered a serious injury and the godly doctor refused to treat you, you could only wait for death. Therefore, in the immortal world, some powerful people didn't dare to offend them. As for those divine doctors, not many people dared to touch them. This was because once you killed the divine doctor, those who had been treated by him in the past would avenge him. Moreover, some people who didn't receive the divine doctor's favor would also make things difficult for you. After all, they would get hurt one day and have to find a doctor. If you killed the divine doctor now, you would cut off their chance of finding a doctor. Therefore, not only can we not offend Muronyu, we must befriend him. Otherwise, if he becomes stronger in the future, our Shangwan family might not even have the chance to befriend him. Shangwan said with a serious face. At this time, Muronyu was eating and drinking with old Master Shangwan on the other side. If he knew that he was praised so highly by Shangwanda, he would probably laugh out loud. Little brother, what do you need? Just ask. As long as I have the ability to get it, I will definitely satisfy you. Old Master Shangwan said with a laugh. After refining the poison, Old Master Shangwan was extremely happy. Old brother, I wonder if your Shangwan family has the space stone? Muronyu knew that he couldn't decline and could only ask. Anyway, he wasn't confident that he could get the space stone from Shangwan Jingjing. Space stone? The Shangwan family has it. Muronyu was overjoyed. Little brother, you only want these? Although these materials are rare, they're not very useful. If you want them, I can give them all to you. Haha, if old brother still has Yuan meteor stones, space crystals, 3-star stones, and the like, I'll be thick-skinned and ask for some more. Of course I have these. I can give them all to you. However, you only want these useless things? Old Master Shangwan frowned and looked at Muronyu with displeasure. Who said they are useless? These are very useful. Muronyu thought in his heart, but on the surface he said, these are enough. How can that be? How about this? I don't have an emperor weapon. How about a sovereign weapon? With your strength, if I give you a sovereign weapon, even if you meet an immortal monarch realm expert, you will be able to defend yourself. Sovereign weapon? Muronyu was shocked. He knew that old Master Shangwan was generous, but he didn't expect him to be so generous. That was a sovereign weapon, not an ordinary immortal weapon. In the immortal world, there weren't many king weapons, let alone sovereign weapons. Old brother, there is no need for a sovereign weapon. It is too precious. I can't accept it. Moreover, with my current strength, if people know that I have a sovereign weapon, it might not be a good thing for me. Chapter 483. Old Man Shangwan had always wanted to give Muronyu something to repay him, but Muronyu had always rejected him. How about this? I don't need it for now, but if I need help in the future, you can help me. Muronyu said helplessly. Okay. Old Man Shangwan agreed in the end. Not long after, they returned to the Shangwan family. The Shangwan family here was the core of the Shangwan family, and it was also the place where the patriarch and the other higher-ups usually stayed. Old Patriarch, Muronyu, you guys have returned. Before they even entered, a group of people came up to welcome them after seeing Muronyu and Old Man Shangwan. They were extremely enthusiastic. More on you. Patriarch invites you in. As for the materials you need, we have already prepared them. Shangguan Bao went up and said to Murong Yu enthusiastically. Murong Yu nodded and glanced at Old Man Shangguan. Go on. Old Man Shangguan waved his hand and entered the main hall with Murong Yu and the others. Murong Yu, here are the three materials: Yuan Meteor Stone, Space Crystal Fragment, and Space Stone. There are 50 kilograms of each. Murong Yu entered the main hall, and Shangguan Jingjing passed a storage ring to Murong Yu. Murong Yu was stunned. He had only asked for one of the three materials, but he did not expect that they would give him 50 kilograms of each. Could it be because of Old Man Shangguan? Thinking of this, Murong Yu looked at Old Man Shangguan. Old Man Shangguan looked at Shangguanda, the current patriarch of the Shangguan family, with a gloomy face. 50 kilograms of each? Shangguanda, do you think we are beggars? Everyone looked at Old Man Shangguan in shock, and Shangguanda was also stunned. Take out all these materials, Old Man Shangguan said without waiting for Shangguanda to speak. Father, is there a problem? Old Man Shangguan's face darkened. No. Shangguanda's heart trembled. He could only instruct an elder to bring over the remaining three materials and hand them over to Murong Yu. Murong Yu did not decline. He knew that even if he declined, he would not be able to. The materials are finally here. Murong Yu breathed a sigh of relief, and a smile appeared on his face. For Murong Yu, these materials were the most important thing right now. After all, it was urgent to build a transmission array between the immortal world and the Huaxiao world of self-cultivation. This trip wasn't in vain. It was worth it. Murong Yu smiled and was about to leave. However, the old man urged him to stay. In the end, Murong Yu did not leave immediately. On this day, Murong Yu gathered the fire-eyed golden ape and the rest. Golden ape, didn't I say that I would only ascend after I return? Why did you ascend? Murong Yu looked at the fire-eyed golden ape and asked with a frown. If he hadn't happened to be in the Boundary Mountain range, the fire-eyed golden ape would have been torn apart by those angry immortals. It's like this. Master has already ascended for many years, but there has been no news of him. After so many years of development, there are many demon kings who have reached the sky immortal realm. Although the extreme heaven realm spirit chi is dense, it is not suitable for cultivation. Thus, I decided to ascend and see the situation. The fire-eyed golden ape roughly explained the situation of the extreme heaven realm. That was my oversight. Murong Yu nodded, then looked at the fire-eyed golden ape and said, the extreme heaven realm is a large power. If it can be developed, its potential is limitless. However, you also know that the master of the extreme heaven realm is from the demonic sect. The demonic sect does not have a good impression of you, Demon Clan. Once they find out that you have appeared in the immortal world, I'm afraid they will attack you. The demonic sect is one of the three giants of the immortal world. You have no ability to fight against them. Once they find out, you may all be killed. The demonic sect sent disciples to guard the extreme heaven realm to prevent the growth of the extreme heaven realm demon clan. Once they find out that the extreme heaven realm is out of their control, your extreme heaven realm will be in a disadvantageous position. The fire-eyed golden ape frowned. He didn't have any solution to this problem. Who asked them to be immortal world humans or demons? Their opponents were the giants of the immortal world. The difference in strength was like a natural chasm. Master, I've thought about it. In the immortal world, our extreme heaven realm demon clan can just merge with Shenzhen. With our potential, I believe it won't take long for us to develop. The fire-eyed golden ape spoke his thoughts. That's not right. You can ascend, but you can't merge with Shenzhen. Murong Yu frowned and directly refused. He then explained, Shenzhen's enemies are extremely powerful. Apart from the immortal palace, there are many other powerful enemies. Once your extreme heaven realm demon clan merges with Shenzhen, we'll have to face the attacks of two of the three giants. This is something we can't afford. Moreover, you're a demon clan. Once you join Shenzhen, it'll cause countless conflicts. The fire-eyed golden ape frowned and fell in a deep thought. However, I'll nurture you like how I nurtured Shenzhen. but you have to establish an independent sect. After all, you may be the descendants of the heavenly demon god. Merging with Shenzhen isn't appropriate. Master? You mean establishing a sect in the immortal world? Is that possible? Once they ascend, they'll randomly appear in the immortal world. It's fine. I have a way to let them ascend directly. Morong smiled. The materials he obtained this time were more than enough to build 2 teleportation arrays. Shenzhen is in the southern mountains. The extreme Heaven Realm Demon clan should also establish a sect in the southern mountains. After that, they discussed for a while. Just like that, a few more days passed. Haha, Brother Morong, your elder brother has come to see you again. Old man Shangwan's clear voice rang out from outside the manor. These days, apart from Shangwan Jingjing's frequent visits, old man Shangwan was the most diligent visitor. Haha, elder brother, I couldn't ask for more. Morong Yu walked out, only to find that there was another old man beside old man Shangwan. When he saw this old man, Morong Yu's eyes involuntarily flashed with a sharp glint, but it disappeared in a flash. However, how could old man Shangwan and that old man be ordinary people? In that instant, Morong Yu's eyes flashed with a sharp light, which was clearly seen by them. Old man Yi, I'm afraid that Morong Yu has already discovered that there's something wrong with your body. I'm not wrong, right? Old man Shangwan transmitted his voice to old man Yi, who was the old man. If that's the case, then it's a great blessing. Old man Yi transmitted his voice back. Brother, let me introduce you. This is my best friend, the patriarch of the Yi clan. You can call him Old Man Yi. Old Man Yi. Morong Yu bowed slightly to him. Not to mention that he was old man Shangwan's best friend. Just his strength alone was enough to make Morong Yu treat him like this. He was at least a monarch immortal powerhouse. Moreover, old man Shangwan had brought him here today. It seemed that he had something to ask of him. Immediately, Morong Yu invited the 2 of them in. In the hall, the 3 of them sat down. Brother, I won't beat around the bush. Let's get straight to the point. There's something wrong with old man Ye's body. Do you think it's convenient for you to take a look at him? Old man Shangwan looked directly at Morong Yu and said. Old man Yu looked at Morong Yu with a hopeful expression and said, Brother Morong Yu, you don't mind me and old man Shangwan calling you that, right? If it's possible, please take a look for me. I'll definitely reward you handsomely. Brother, old man Yi, you don't have to be so polite. I'll take a look now. Morong Yu smiled. Old man Yu was instantly overjoyed. Brother Morong, do you need to prepare anything? No need. Old man Yi, you just need to extend your hand for me to take a look. Morong Yu smiled. His divine sense entered old man Ye's body through his hand. After circling around old man Ye's body, Morong Yu frowned slightly. As expected, in fact, when he first saw old man Yi, Morong Yu already noticed something strange about old man Ye's body. After checking old man Ye's body, Morong Yu let go of old man Ye's hand and fell into deep thought. After a long time, he opened his eyes. Brother Morong, my body shouldn't have any problems, right? If I'm not wrong, old man Ye's body is very serious. If you don't treat it, you won't be able to live for more than 100 years. Morong Yu frowned. That's true. I don't know if Brother Morong has a way. Old man Yi asked anxiously. Morong Yu frowned slightly. Old man Yi, where did you get the death aura on your body? It's actually so terrifying. That's right. Old man Ye's body was covered in death aura. This death aura was different from the one Morong Yu saw before. It was extremely terrifying. At this moment, old man Ye's entire body was completely invaded by this terrifying death aura. Just as Morong Yu said, if this death aura wasn't expelled, old man Yu wouldn't be able to live for more than 100 years. Fortunately, old man Yu was powerful. Otherwise, he would have been killed by this death aura. However, this death aura was too terrifying. Even with old man Ye's strength, he couldn't expel it. On the contrary, his entire body was invaded by it. Back then, I got in a forbidden area. At first, it was just a little bit. It was almost invisible. However, with my strength, I couldn't expel it. In the end, many years later, it became like this. Over the years, I've seen many miraculous doctors and even some powerful ones, but they still couldn't get rid of this death aura. Old Man Yi sighed with a touch of sadness in his eyes. Although this death aura isn't as terrifying as Brother Shangwan's poison, it's not bad either. I have a way to expel it. However, this death aura has already invaded your entire body. It's extremely troublesome to expel it. In addition to my strength, I'm afraid it'll take a long time. Old Man Yi was overjoyed when he heard this. Old Man Shangwan's face was also filled with joy. It's great that you can treat it. Ha! Old Man Yi couldn't help but laugh. Chapter 484. Elder Yi's entire body was infected by the death aura. With Murong Yu's current life force, he could indeed purify and expel it. However, just as Murong Yu said, it would take some time. However, although the death aura was terrifying, it could not hide from the life force. It could not withstand a single blow. In reality, it would not take too long. The reason why he said that was because Murong Yu did it on purpose. After all, he had powerful life force, even more powerful than those so-called miracle doctors. However, he did not want to stand out too much. The tallest tree in the forest would be the first to be destroyed by the wind. Moreover, Murong Yu had already gathered all the materials. Currently, to him, the most important thing was to build the teleportation array between Shenzhen and Shenzhen. Everything else was not important. My current strength is limited. Although I can expel the death aura from Elder Yi, it will take a long time, and it will be divided into several stages. Elder Yi was instantly happy when he heard that. He had endured it for so many years. If he could not expel it, he could only wait for death. Now that he heard Murong Yu say that he could expel the death aura, would he still care about how long it would take? However, I have something to do now, so I have to leave for a while. Elder Yi was shocked. With a flip of his hand, an armor emitting a terrifying aura appeared in his hand. Brother Murong, this is a royal armament armor. Its defense is extremely strong. Of course, this is only a part of my reward for you. After you cure me, I will give you even more. Elder Yi thought that Murong Yu was trying to decline the offer. Therefore, in a hurry, he quickly took out a royal armament. A royal armament armor? Murong Yu was stunned. Since when were royal armaments so worthless? Royal armaments were extremely rare in the immortal realm, and armors that belonged to the defensive category were even rarer. It could even be said that a powerful defensive royal armament armor's value was comparable to that of a monarch armament. Brother, what do you think? Elder Shangwan was also a little anxious. He had misunderstood Murong Yu's meaning. Elder Yi, Brother Shangwan, you misunderstood. That's not what I meant. I really have something urgent to deal with, but before I leave, I will carry out the first stage of purification on Elder Yi. Murong Yu quickly said. Haha, I knew you weren't the kind of person who would leave someone in the lurch. Old Master Shangwan laughed heartily. Elder Yi, on the other hand, felt a little awkward. Brother Murong, this is your reward. Take it first. After saying that, he handed over the king armament armor. Murong Yu pondered for a moment, but did not decline and directly accepted it. Although he didn't need to consume a lot of energy to purify Elder Yi's death aura, he couldn't do it for free, right? Once Murong Yu's reputation spread, this is a good way to make money. Murong Yu's eyes suddenly lit up. If the news of him being a godly doctor were to spread out, there would definitely be a lot of people coming to seek treatment in the future. At that time, all kinds of treasures would naturally come one after another. This was much faster and safer than going out on an adventure. From the looks of it, I can also be a godly doctor. After I settle the teleportation portal, I'll start receiving patients. This thought flashed through Murong Yu's mind. If that's the case, then let's start the first stage of treatment. Murong Yu was not pretentious and was about to start directly. In fact, he couldn't wait to go back to Shenzhen. Okay. Elder Yi immediately sat down with his legs crossed. Murong Yu also sat behind him with his hands on Elder Yi's back. Streams of life energy slowly entered Elder Yi's body. Under Murong Yu's control, not much of the life energy entered Elder Yi's body. However, Even so, the death aura entrenched in Elder Ye's body was unable to withstand a single blow. After encountering the life energy, it was directly purified. Elder Yi was shocked when he felt the terrifying life energy. At the same time, Elder Yi was inexplicably surprised, because he realized that the death aura was gradually being purified. It was indeed effective. Elder Yi was inexplicably surprised. After half a day, Murong Yu's face was already pale and his forehead was covered in sweat. He looked like he had overexerted himself. 1/10, it should be enough. Feeling that 1/10 of the death aura in Elder Ye's body had been purified, Murong Yu retracted his hand. Mr. Murong, thank you so much. Feeling that his body was much more relaxed and that he was not so close to death, Elder Yi stood up and bowed respectfully to Murong Yu. As he spoke, he also changed the way he addressed Yi Futian. He no longer dared to call Murong Yu little brother. He believed that soon, Murong Yu's achievements would be greater than his. Seeing that Murong Yu's face was pale and looked like he had overexerted himself, Elder Yi flipped his hand, and an immortal meridian suddenly appeared in his hand. Mr. Murong Yu, please recover your strength first. Murong Yu did not say anything and directly took the immortal meridian. Then, he sat cross-legged on the ground and started to recover. In fact, Murong Yu was still pretending that he had overexerted himself. He did not use any energy at all. Therefore, after half a day, he slowly opened his eyes. Elder Yi, I have already purified about 1/10 of the death aura in your body. The death aura will not continue to increase for a few years. After I finish my business, I will come back here and continue to purify it for you. Murong Yu said. Okay. Elder Yi replied happily. At the same time, another king weapon appeared in his hand. It was a battle sword. This is something I got by accident. It is not of much use to me. It is not worth much. Sir, you can use it. Old man Yi, I've never seen you so generous before. Old man Shangwan looked at old man Yi with a surprised expression. Then I will not be polite. Murong Yu directly took it. These were all treatment fees. It would be a waste if he did not take them. Moreover, they were all king weapons. Even if Murong Yu did not need them, he still had Shengzhen's men. Moreover, Elder Yi was the patriarch of the Yi family. Someone who could be friends with Elder Shangwan was probably not simple. Haha, I'm not afraid to say it directly. My life is in the hands of Mr. Murong. If anything happens to him, I will not live for many years. Elder Yi said very straightforwardly. Murong Yu and the others rolled their eyes. As he spoke, Elder Yi took out a jade slip and handed it to Murong Yu. This is a communication jade slip. If you encounter any danger, just crush this jade slip and I will rush over immediately. Murong Yu did not stand on ceremony and directly took it. Before this, old Master Shangwan had also given him a jade slip similar to the one he had given him. However, Murong Yu never thought about whether these jade slips were useful or not. After all, the immortal world was really too big. Even if Murong Yu encountered danger, whether they could rush over in time was also a problem. The next day, Murong Yu and the others prepared to leave the Shangwan family. Murong Yu, you are leaving? Where are you going? I'm going too. Shangwan Jingjing walked over and looked at Murong Yu. You should just stay at home. Murong Yu rolled his eyes. He was now going back to Shenzhen in the southern mountain range. Other than his own people, he did not want others to know. Jingjing, you better not leave the family for now. Those people might harm you. At this time, the patriarch of the Shangwan family, Shangwan Do, also walked over. Shangwan Jingjing was helpless. In the end, she could only fiercely glare at Murong Yu. However, not long after, she transmitted her voice to Murong Yu. Bastard, you call my grandfather elder brother? Then wouldn't I be lower than you by a few generations? Haha, that is a must. Murong Yu laughed. Then, he bid farewell to everyone and left the Shangwan family. He's the one called Murong Yu? I heard that his medical skills are very impressive. Even the old patriarch was cured by him. Yes, I heard that he is only in the profound immortal realm. Although he is not strong, his medical skills are too terrifying. He is young and promising. I wonder if his medical fees are expensive? If we are injured in the future, can we find him to treat us? Someone said, He is now our family's guest of honor. Even the patriarch is polite to him. Don't even think about it. Along the way, many people from the Shangwan family discussed Murongyu as he passed by. When they left the Shangwan family's gate, those people who once stopped Murongyu were looking at Murongyu with fear and unease. This was especially true for Shangwan Yi, who had once attacked Murongyu. These people were still guarding the gate. However, if they were not guarding the gate, what was the use? Shangwan Yi, open your dog eyes in the future. This time, fortunately, Murongyu still came in. Otherwise, once the old patriarch knew that you once stopped him from coming in, even if you had 10,000 lives, it would not be enough to kill you. After Murongyu and the rest left, Shangwan Qing berated Shangwan Yi. Shangwan Yi's eyes flashed with fear. He also realized how terrifying this matter was. After leaving the Shangwan family for some distance, Murongyu and the rest directly entered the Hichu Luo Shu. Then, the scenery before their eyes flashed. In the next moment, they appeared in the southern mountains, in Shenzhen. The moment Murongyu appeared in Shenzhen, he felt a gaze from somewhere piercing through the sky and looking over. At this moment, Murongyu's hair stood on end. His scalp also went numb. But soon, that feeling appeared again. That gaze was still there, but it was much gentler now. There was no longer any terrifying pressure on Murongyu. It was as if Murongyu could vaguely feel the goodwill in that gaze. Goodwill. Murongyu shook his head and smiled. When he wanted to feel it again, that gaze had already disappeared. Was an illusion? Murongyu was stunned. He extended his divine consciousness to check. However, to his disappointment, he did not see anything. That gaze just now seemed to be an illusion. It was as if it had never appeared. Chapter 485. Maybe I'm hallucinating. Murongyu shook his head and walked into Shenzhen's main hall. At the same time, many people from Shenzhen, including Zhao Jiqing, Zhang Ao, and Yang Man, rushed into the temple. Holy Lord! Seeing Murongyu and the others return, everyone was very happy. Especially Zhao Jiqing. Her beautiful eyes were focused on Murongyu. Murongyu looked at Zhao Jiqing with an apologetic smile. Although they'd already confirmed their identities, Murongyu had spent far too little time by Zhao Jiqing's side. Zhao Jiqing, on the other hand, had never complained or regretted it. After ascending to the immortal realm, Zhao Jiqing helped Murongyu manage Shenzhen. After this, I must spend some time with Jiqing. Murongyu thought to himself. However, the most important thing now was to build the teleportation array. Shenzhen is developing well. This is all thanks to all of you. Murongyu first praised everyone, then he went straight to the point. As you all know, ascenders from the lower realm will not appear in a fixed place. They will appear in the immortal realm at random. Therefore, all of you, including me, have been thinking about a problem. How can Shenzhen accept the disciples of Shenzhen from the lower realm? Everyone nodded. They had been thinking about this problem for the past few days. However, they were not strong enough and did not know much about the immortal realm. They could not think of a solution. They could only pin their hopes on Murongyu. Now that Murongyu had returned and discussed this problem again, they realized that Murongyu might have found a way to deal with the disciples of Shenzhen from the lower realm. Holy Lord, have you thought of a solution? Duan Muqing asked straightforwardly, as usual. Not bad. Murongyu nodded slightly. Great, that's great. Everyone was excited. To them, accepting people from the immortal world as Shenzhen's disciples was not as good as accepting disciples from the lower realm. After all, those who had ascended from the lower realms were all Shenzhen's disciples. There was no need to worry about their loyalty. Moreover, they belonged to the same sect and had the greatest sense of belonging to Shenzhen. Most of Shenzhen's original disciples had already treated Shenzhen as their home. Who would betray their home? Who would be disloyal to their family? Therefore, after hearing Murongyu say that he had a solution, everyone was very happy. I will build a teleportation array between Shenzhen from the immortal world and Shenzhen from the lower realm. When the time comes, those who have reached the heavenly immortal realm can directly teleport to the southern mountains through the teleportation array without ascending. Murong Yu said before they could ask any questions. In fact, there was no difference whether they ascended or not to the immortal world. After all, ascending was just reopening the gate of immortality. There were no special benefits. Therefore, Shenzhen's disciples from the lower realm could directly teleport through the teleportation array without any loss. Holy Lord, can people from the immortal world use the teleportation array to return to the Huaxia cultivation world? Just then, someone asked. Although they had already ascended to the immortal world and became immortals, their strength would only get stronger. However, the Huaxia cultivation world was their hometown. Everyone would miss their hometown. Yes, but there will be certain restrictions. As for how to operate it, I will consider this matter after the teleportation array is built. Murong Yu nodded and said, the teleportation array must be limited. Otherwise, if a large number of ascended people return to the cultivation world, it would disrupt the order of the cultivation world. In principle, as long as one ascended, they would not be allowed to return to the cultivation world. In addition, we will establish a sect near Shenzhen. We will establish a sect. Everyone was shocked and looked at Murong Yu in confusion. Even Zhao Jiqing was shocked. Everyone, don't be surprised. We only have one Shenzhen. The sect that we will establish will also be a force that belongs to me. I believe everyone is not unfamiliar with the extreme heaven realm, right? Murong Yu asked faintly. We have all entered the extreme heaven realm. However, Holy Lord, what does the sect that you want to establish have to do with the extreme heaven realm? Sima Ryu asked. Everyone looked at Murong Yu in confusion. Although Murong Yu said that the sect that he would establish would also belong to his strength. However, no one thought that Murong Yu had already subdued the extreme heaven realm. The golden ape is the master of the extreme heaven realm. Therefore, the sect that I will establish is actually to bring in the extreme heaven realm demons, Murong Yu said as he pointed at the fire-eyed golden ape. He is the master of the extreme heaven realm? Everyone looked at the fire-eyed golden ape standing there in shock. They all recognized the fire-eyed golden ape and the big black dog. They also knew that the fire-eyed golden ape had always called Murong Yu Lord. It was a subordinate that Murong Yu had subdued. However, no one knew that it was the master of the extreme heaven realm. That's right. He is the master of the extreme heaven realm. Golden ape, you will also be the master of a sect. Your status is the same as mine. There's a seat for you over there, Murong Yu said as he pointed at the seat beside him. The fire-eyed golden ape shook its head slightly and took a step forward. It looked at everyone and said, the golden ape will first thank everyone here. You all know that I am only a subordinate of my lord. My lord will always be my lord. This will not change. As for us extreme heaven realm demons, we are all my lord's subordinates. Although everyone was already immortals, they still felt a little dizzy after hearing the fire-eyed golden ape's words. What was the extreme heaven realm? Although they didn't understand much, they knew that the extreme heaven realm was a world that was the same size as the Huaxia cultivation world. The power of the extreme heaven realm was about the same as the Huaxia cultivation world. It might even surpass the Huaxia cultivation world. However, when they remembered that Murong Yu was the enforcer of the Huaxia cultivation world, they weren't so shocked. Murong Yu was omnipotent. This was what they thought in their hearts, and they had always felt this way. The newly established sect will be called the Celestial Palace. This was what Murong Yu and the fire-eyed golden ape had discussed long ago. The meaning was obvious. It was named after the heavenly demon god. After all, the fire-eyed golden ape had obtained the heavenly demon god's inheritance, and the extreme heaven realm demons might be the descendants of the heavenly demon god subordinates. Young man, Duan Muqing, you two will be in charge of establishing the Celestial Palace. And, in terms of scale, it should be about the same as our Shenzhen. Is there a problem? Murong Yu asked. No problem. Everyone replied. Good, then let's move out. Murong Yu waved his hand and had them leave. Even the fire-eyed golden ape, big black dog, and the others had already left. Murong Yu walked to Zhao Jiqing's side, hugged her, and said apologetically, Jiqing, I'm sorry. You've worked hard. I'm fine. Zhao Jiqing nestled in Murong Yu's embrace. She felt very comfortable and safe, and couldn't help but rub a few times. Jiqing, let's get married, Murong Yu suddenly said. Zhao Jiqing's body trembled violently, and then she raised her head to look at Murong Yu. Her face was a little red, but more than that, she was happy. Well, if you're not ready, we can eat a little first. At this moment, Murong Yu's heart actually became nervous. Get married? Zhao Jiqing was a little confused. She felt that it was a little too sudden. Murong, in this life, I'll marry no one else but you. You're my only husband. It's just that this is a little too sudden. Let me think about it, okay? Zhao Jiqing was happy, but she still said that in the end. Since that's the case, then let's get married later. However, you won't be able to escape from me. Murong Yu laughed, but Zhao Jiqing didn't see the flash of disappointment in his eyes. As long as you don't chase me away, I won't leave you, Zhao Jiqing said softly. After leaving the divine palace, Murong Yu began to think about where to build the teleportation formation. I was actually rejected. Murong Yu was a little depressed. Although he was a little disappointed at Zhao Jiqing's rejection, Murong Yu didn't blame Zhao Jiqing. He knew Zhao Jiqing's feelings. His sudden words were indeed a little too sudden, and Zhao Jiqing couldn't accept it at the moment. At the same time, Mu Liyue's figure appeared in Murong Yu's mind. What was the identity of the woman he had slept with? As he thought about it, Yu Mengqing's figure appeared in his mind. This time, Murong Yu was really frustrated. Am I such a playboy? Murong Yu asked himself. However, he couldn't answer. It's good that we don't get married for the time being, or else I don't know how to face them. Murong Yu rolled his eyes and killed these thoughts in his heart. In the end, Murong Yu chose a valley to build the teleportation formation. After choosing the location, Murong Yu began to refine the materials. After refining the materials, he still had to build the teleportation formation. It wasn't difficult to refine the materials, and in less than a month, he had already refined and purified almost 1,000,000 kilograms of materials. However, building the teleportation formation was a little difficult. This was because the teleportation formation wasn't something that could be done simply by fusing the materials. It also required many complicated and obscure formations to be carved on the teleportation formation. Murong Yu wasn't interested in formations, and it was impossible for him to do it at the last minute. Therefore, in the end, it was Hichu who came out and got to work. Hichu wasn't very strong, but he had recovered to the level of Golden Immortal and was even stronger than Murong Yu. With he too, a Grandmaster-level existence who was proficient in array formations, it didn't take long for the teleportation array of the Immortal World's Sage Sect to be completed. After the teleportation formation in the Immortal World of Shenzhen was built, it wasn't enough. It was necessary to build another teleportation formation in the cultivation world of Shenzhen. Only then would it be a complete teleportation formation. Therefore, Murong Yu didn't stop to rest and returned to the cultivation world of Huaxia. As soon as he returned to the cultivation world, Murong Yu felt that something was wrong. It seemed that the space in the cultivation world of Huaxia had become somewhat chaotic and unstable. Chapter 486. In the boundless starry sky, the twinkling stars were like agates hanging in the sky, emitting beautiful rays of light. It was extremely magnificent and magnificent. In the endless starry sky, there were many stars like a river of stars. If someone was here, they would see that there were many huge stars in the river of stars. These huge stars were different from ordinary stars. For example, the average star was only the size of a fist, but those huge stars were as big as an ocean. One could imagine how big the gap between them was. If someone at Yang Lin's level was in the starry sky, they would know what these huge stars were. They were worlds, cultivation worlds, immortal worlds, and even the heavens. These worlds existed under the starry sky and were a part of it. There was only one starry sky under the heavens. The 108,000 cultivation worlds and the 3,000 worlds all existed in this starry sky. Of course, they didn't rely on each other. After all, the starry sky was too big. In a certain part of the starry sky, 36 huge stars of different colors were circling in the sky. There was an extremely long distance between them. Even in the void, it looked like they were separated by billions of miles. In reality, the distance between them was countless billions of miles. And under the encirclement of the 36 big stars, an enormous star that was many times larger than the 36 big stars hovered above the heavy sword. The 36 big stars and the surroundings were like stars surrounding the moon, encircling it inside. The biggest star was the immortal world. The 36 stars next to it were the 36 cultivation worlds under each immortal world. In addition, there were similar scenes in different regions of the starry sky. Those were the 3,000 immortal worlds and cultivation worlds. All of a sudden, a big yellow hand reached out from one of the self-cultivators and appeared in the starry sky. It grew bigger and bigger with the wind. Not long after, this huge hand was bigger than one of the cultivation worlds. At the same time, the hand reached out and swept across the starry sky, fiercely slapping at another cultivation world not far away. In front of this huge hand, that cultivation world was like a tiny dot. If it was hit by this terrifying hand, it would probably be smashed into pieces in an instant. After all, this kind of huge hand that could sweep across the starry sky had terrifying power. It would not be a problem for it to destroy a world. As soon as Murong-Yu appeared in Huaxia's cultivation world, he immediately sensed that something was amiss. The space of the Huaxia cultivation world seemed to have become unstable and chaotic. Before Murong-Yu could react, a destructive aura descended from the sky and quickly slapped at Murong-Yu. What a terrifying aura! A trace of fear flashed through Murong-Yu's eyes. This destructive aura was more terrifying than the power of an immortal monarch and comparable to an immortal emperor. The Huaxia cultivation world definitely could not withstand such an attack. Murong-Yu's face changed. Murong-Yu, someone is attacking the Huaxia cultivation world. Someone is attacking the Huaxia cultivation world. Fight back, fight back. At this moment, Huaxia cultivation world, Murong-Yu, Murong-Yu, Murong, bastard. Murong-Yu was incomparably furious. In a flash, he disappeared from where he stood. When he reappeared, he was already in the origin space. Boom! Just as Murong-Yu entered the origin space, Murong-Yu's mind exploded. Then, a magnificent starry sky appeared in his mind. However, Murong-Yu did not have time to admire the magnificence of the endless starry sky. His whole body and mind had been attracted by the huge hand that was slapping at him. Which chaos is attacking? Murong-Yu roared in his heart. He was extremely angry. Obviously, the attacker was not from the immortal world. Instead, it was an expert from another cultivation world. It was very likely that it was a punisher from another cultivation world. Only they could borrow the power of the origin of the world to achieve the purpose of attacking other cultivation worlds. Otherwise, other people would not have this ability at all. Ordinary people's attacks could not reach outside the cultivation world at all. Of course, it was different for punishers who borrowed the power of the origin. Before he could think about which bastard was attacking Huaxia cultivation world, the furious Murong-Yu immediately condensed the power of the origin into a huge hand and slammed it at the huge hand that was slamming at him. In the endless starry sky, after the huge yellow hand appeared and slapped at the cultivation world that was emitting a light blue light, a huge black hand suddenly slapped out from the light blue cultivation world and quickly met the huge yellow hand. Bang! The two huge hands met in the void and then collided fiercely. A terrifying power erupted from the two large hands. An extremely terrifying impact force spread rapidly in all directions with the two huge hands as the center. The void was constantly annihilated. Even the stars were directly annihilated under this terrifying impact force. The moment the two hands clashed, the Huaxia world of cultivators and the other 35 world of cultivators trembled violently. Among them, The one that felt it the most was the Huaxia cultivation world and the cultivation world with the huge yellow hand, the Fenghua cultivation world. However, the two huge hands clashed in the endless starry sky. Although the shock waves were terrifying, they were too far away from each cultivation world. Although many starry skies and stars were annihilated, it only shook the cultivation world a little. Even the huge immortal world did not shake at all. In the origin space of the Fenghua cultivation world, Mo Fo's body shook violently, and his face was filled with disbelief. How is this possible? How did he block my attack? This is impossible. Isn't he being hunted down in the immortal world? Mo Fo roared crazily. Mo Fo, the enforcer of the Fenghua cultivation world, had fought Murong in the Five-Finger Mountain. As a golden immortal, he was defeated by Murong, who was only an ascendant immortal. He even lost a few royal weapons. Mo Fo felt incomparably furious and humiliated to be defeated by Murong, who was only at the ascendant immortal realm and whose cultivation was even lower than his. From that day on, Mo Fo saw Murong as someone he must kill. However, he also knew that Murong was very powerful and was also an enforcer of the cultivation world. It would not be easy for him to kill Murong. Therefore, Mo Fo did not make a move for many years. Instead, he had been conserving his energy. Not long ago, when he knew that Murong was being hunted down in the immortal world, he prepared for this attack. However, he did not expect that Murong would counterattack in time. Otherwise, with Mo Fo's attack, even if the cultivation world of Huaxia was not destroyed, all the cultivators in Huaxia would die. Then, all the cultivators in the cultivation world would definitely be shocked to death, and not a single life would be left. Mo Fo could not kill Murong, so he wanted to wipe out the cultivation world of Huaxia. He was so vicious. However, he did not expect that Murong would react in time and make his attack miss. Of course, as an enforcer, Mo Fo knew that he could teleport back to his cultivation world at any time. However, Mo Fo was counting on Murong not coming back in time. As long as Murong did not come back in time, Mo Fo's palm would hit the cultivation world of Huaxia. Even if Murong reacted in time, he would not be able to block Mo Fo's long-prepared attack. Even if he could not wipe out the entire cultivation world of Huaxia, he could kill some people. Even if Murong was only a moment late, Mo Fo's goal would have been achieved. This was because Murong was being hunted in the immortal realm and could not be teleported back so quickly. However, Mo Fo's situation was wrong. In the void, the giant hand struck out 3 times in a row. Each strike unleashed an incomparably terrifying shockwave, shattering the starry sky and annihilating the stars. The 36 cultivation worlds of the Yanhuang immortal realm were shaken 3 times in a row. The other 34 enforcers of the cultivation world were also alarmed. The cultivation world of Huaxia and the cultivation world of wind and fire are at war again, said one of the enforcers. The cultivation world of wind and fire dares to attack the cultivation world of Huaxia. They are courting death. Someone sneered. The cultivation world of wind and fire has always been at the bottom of the rankings. I heard that this year's enforcer is very arrogant. Back then, he was defeated by the enforcer of Huaxia's cultivation world at the Five Fingers Mountain. This guy probably can't take it lying down. Just them. They have always been at the bottom of the rankings. Those in the cultivation world of Huaxia are all sick. Once they are angered, they might just go to their door and kill them all. It's not like this hasn't happened before. The cultivation world of wind and fire was generally not strong. They had always been at the bottom of the 36 cultivation worlds. However, in the cultivation world of Huaxia, they had always been at the top. Each of their enforcers was sick in strength. A long time ago, an enforcer of wind and fire had provoked an enforcer of Huaxia's cultivation world. He had been killed by the enforcer of Huaxia's cultivation world. This incident had intensified the hatred between the cultivation world of wind and fire and the cultivation world of Huaxia. It could even be said that the hatred between the two cultivation worlds had reached the level of an eternal feud. Boom! The two huge hands collided in the starry sky again. Then, both of them collapsed and disappeared into the void. Mo also stopped attacking. Even if he attacked again, he could not do anything to Morongyu. At this moment, Morongyu's killing intent soared to the heavens. Wind and fire immortal realm, Mo. Morongyu gritted his teeth. His killing intent filled the entire void. It was terrifying. Chapter 487. The grudge between Morongyu and Mo could only be considered a personal grudge, and it wasn't a big deal. Mo had only been defeated by Morongyu. Normal people wouldn't take revenge for such a small grudge. However, Morongyu didn't expect that after so many years, Mo would still hold a grudge. Moreover, what angered Morongyu the most was that Mo's revenge had gone beyond a personal grudge and had escalated it to a grudge between two worlds. Think about it. If Morongyu hadn't returned in time, the entire Huaxia self-cultivation world would have been wiped out by Mo. Even if the Huaxia self-cultivation world could be preserved, a large number of cultivators would have died. Mo was so vicious that he couldn't kill Morongyu, so he wanted to kill the rest of the Huaxia self-cultivation world. This bastard, I wonder why the origin of the wind and fire self-cultivation world acknowledged him. Why did he become the enforcer of the wind and fire self-cultivation world? Or has the wind and fire self-cultivation world always been like this? Morongyu was furious, and his killing intent was overflowing. At this moment, the furious Morongyu couldn't help but want to attack the wind and fire self-cultivation world. However, in the end, he suppressed this crazy thought. If he attacked, what was the difference between him and Mo? Moreover, Morongyu knew that even if he attacked, he wouldn't be able to kill Mo. After all, this bastard was also an enforcer. Once Morongyu attacked, he would kill many innocent lives in the wind and fire self-cultivation world. This wasn't what Morongyu wanted. Mo, don't let me see you in the immortal realm in the future, or I will kill you, Morongyu said angrily. With Morongyu's current strength, if the two of them met in the immortal realm, Morongyu would most likely kill Mo in one strike. This way, even if Mo was an enforcer, he wouldn't be able to escape death. Mo actually attacked the Huaxia world of self-cultivators. This is going to be a good show. The other 30 or so enforcers of the world of self-cultivators transmitted their voices to each other. With the power of the origin, the more than 30 cultivation worlds could transmit messages to each other even though they were separated by countless galaxies. This was the ability of a Punisher. I wonder if the Huaxia cultivation world will fight back, someone asked. It's possible. After all, no one would be so angry after being attacked. However, it's a little hard to kill Mo. If Mo was hiding in the Windfire world, Morongyu wouldn't be able to kill him unless he destroyed the entire Windfire world. If it were me, I would definitely strike back fiercely. Even if we destroy the wind and fire world of cultivation, it will still be the same. Someone said, Mo, you crazy bastard. If you want to take revenge, you can come to me. How dare you attack ordinary people? You're such a bastard. Morongyu, will remember what happened today. However, I'm not a crazy bastard like you. I won't attack the wind and fire world of cultivation. However, you'd better not meet me anywhere else. Otherwise, I will kill you. Just as everyone was discussing, Morongyu's voice slowly spread out. It was filled with dominance and killing intent as it resounded through the starry sky. In the wind and fire world of cultivation, Mo was furious. Morongyu, if I can't kill you today, you will definitely die in the future. Mo sneered. You better hide in the wind and fire world of cultivation. Otherwise, you'll die. Even your master and the Heavenly Punisher Palace can't protect you. Morongyu, swear today that I will kill Mo. I will kill Mo. His voice was distant, and it contained an extremely firm tone and extremely sharp killing intent. I'll be waiting. Mo sneered. Morongyu is angry. How will Mo resist the angry Moronyu? There will be a good show to watch. The rest of the people laughed. They were very interested in this. With a flash, Moronyu retracted his divine sense. In the future, pay attention to Mo and the others. If you find that they are being attacked again, inform me immediately. Moronyu said to the origin of the Huaxiao world. Then, Moronyu's figure flashed and left the origin space. He appeared in the Shenzhen world of cultivation. It seems that I have to pay more attention to the world of cultivation. Otherwise, the Huaxiao world of cultivation will be in danger once it is attacked. Moronyu thought. For example, if Moronyu's reaction was slow, many people in the Huaxiao world of cultivation would have died. Moronyu couldn't do anything about this kind of attack from another world. The Huaxiao world of cultivation couldn't defend itself at all. They could only rely on the Huaxiao world of cultivation to react in time. However, as the enforcer of the Huaxiao world of cultivation, you could also sense attacks from other worlds. It would be great if I could set up a formation outside the world of cultivation. Moronyu thought. Setting up a formation outside the Huaxiao world of cultivation wasn't a fantasy. However, Moronyu didn't have the strength to do so now. At least, even those powerful people in the immortal world couldn't set up such a huge formation. This was only one of the problems. The key was that the Huaxiao world of cultivation was so big. How many materials would it take to set up a formation? With Morongyu's strength, who knew when he would be able to gather all these materials? Therefore, although many people had similar ideas in the past, no one in the cultivation world had ever succeeded in setting up a formation. In the Holy Palace, Moronyu sat directly on the seat of the Sacred Lord. Shenzhen's current Sacred Lord, Li Ling, stood not far in front of Moronyu. Haha, Uncle, after the teleportation formation is set up, can I ascend? Li Ling said with a laugh. Moronyu looked at Li Ling indifferently. Have you trained your successor? Of course. Haven't I been training my successor all these years? Don't worry, this person is absolutely fine. If there is a problem, I will personally come back from the immortal world to kill him. Li Ling said confidently. This guy had never been interested in the position of Sacred Lord. He just wanted to ascend. However, because of Moronyu's words, he couldn't ascend. This made him very depressed. Moronyu nodded. He was now the enforcer. Shenzhen couldn't decline. If there was really such a problematic person, Moronyu could eliminate him before Li Ling could do anything. After all, no one wanted to see the sect they built be destroyed in the hands of others. If that's the case, then ascend. Follow me to set up the teleportation formation. Moronyu's figure flashed and left the Holy Palace. Li Ling also happily followed after him. The materials had been refined long ago. When Moronyu found a suitable place to set up the teleportation formation in Shenzhen, Hichu came out and began to set up the teleportation formation. It didn't take long for the teleportation formation to be completed. As long as one reached the heavenly immortal realm, one could use the teleportation formation to ascend to the immortal world. Moronyu didn't have any rules regarding the teleportation formation. There was only this one. Of course, this rule wasn't needed. This was because when Hichu was setting up the teleportation formation, he had already set up restrictions on it. Those who were not strong enough would not be able to enter the teleportation formation. Even if they entered, they would be kicked out. At this point, the teleportation formation was completed. Don't mess around. I'll try the teleportation formation first. Moronyu glanced at Li Ling, then entered the teleportation formation. Whoosh! Moronyu felt his vision darken. The next moment, he appeared on the teleportation formation in Shenzhen in the immortal world. Moronyu had long been used to this kind of teleportation. At this moment, he asked Hichu, there shouldn't be any problems, right? There's no problem. As long as it's not attacked. There shouldn't be any problems with the teleportation formation. Hichu said with a smile. That's great. From today onwards, the people of Shenzhen in the lower realm can use the teleportation formation to ascend to the immortal world. Moronyu once again used the teleportation formation to return to Shenzhen in the cultivation world. He handed this matter over to Li Ling. As for how Li Ling would arrange for Shenzhen, Moronyu didn't care too much. After all, this was Li Ling's matter. Muronyu had now let go of Shenzhen in the cultivation world, unless Shenzhen was in a life-and-death situation or someone provoked Muronyu. After a few months, with the efforts of many disciples of Shenzhen, the Celestial Palace was completed. After spending a little more time, Muronyu also built a teleportation formation in the Celestial Palace. Golden Ape, let's go back to the extreme celestial realm. Muronyu brought the Golden Ape back to the extreme celestial realm. The extreme celestial realm was still fine. Perhaps because the Devil sect hadn't noticed that their people were killed, no one had come forward to interfere. This also made the extreme celestial realm quiet. After seeing the fire-eyed Golden Ape return from the immortal world, the Demon Kings were even more excited. After spending a little more time, Muronyu finished building the teleportation formation in the extreme celestial realm. Now, 2 teleportation formations have been built. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. In the direction of the Celestial Palace, the teleportation formation constantly emitted rays of light. One by one, the Demon Kings appeared out of thin air, coming from the extreme celestial realm to the immortal world. This is the immortal world. This is the immortal world. When they felt the dense, immortal spiritual energy around them, many Demon Kings were actually crying. Before Muronyu and the fire-eyed Golden Ape killed the master of the extreme celestial realm, there were no half-immortal Demon Kings in the entire extreme celestial realm. Once a half-immortal Demon King appeared, they would be killed by the so-called master of the extreme celestial realm. Therefore, for countless years, many Demon Kings were desperately suppressing their cultivation. They just didn't want to die. They never thought that one day they would be able to ascend to the immortal world. Now that they could ascend to the immortal world, how could they not be excited? How could they not burst into tears? Not long after, tens of thousands of heavenly immortal Demon Kings appeared in the Celestial Palace. More and more Demon Kings were continuously teleported to the Celestial Palace through the teleportation formation. The problem of Shenzhen and the extreme celestial realm is basically solved. In the void, Muronyu and the others stood together, looking in the direction of the Celestial Palace. Muronyu slowly said, Chapter 488. The teleportation formation between Shenzhen and Celestial Palace had been completed. The disciples of Shenzhen and the Demon Kings of the extreme celestial realm in the Huaxiao world of cultivation were constantly entering the immortal world through the teleportation formation. During this process, Muronyu spread the general situation of the immortal world. He even bought books that introduced the immortal world. This allowed Shenzhen and the people of Celestial Palace to have a general understanding of the immortal world outside. A few years passed in the blink of an eye. During this process, the people or Demon Kings of the cultivation world and the extreme celestial realm who had reached the celestial immortal realm had basically ascended. Moreover, Muronyu no longer restricted the disciples of the 2 sects from leaving the southern mountains. After all, the southern mountains were dangerous, and the enemies of Shenzhen and Celestial Palace were powerful. However, this was the southern mountains. Experts above the 9 heavens, Xian immortal realm, did not dare to enter the southern mountains. Once an expert above the immortal king realm appeared, he would be mercilessly killed immediately. The reason why Muronyu allowed the people of the 2 sects to leave the sects to train in the immortal world was that he knew that staying in the sects all the time was not the best way to cultivate. Moreover, at this time, there were already 5,000 experts in the 9 heavens Xian immortal realm in Shenzhen. These people were taken in by Muronyu when he was in the Luotian sect to collect the hot springs. Under the effect of the immortal expansion pill, the strength of these people had all been raised to the 9 heavens Xian immortal realm. In the southern mountains, 5,000 experts in the 9 heavens Xian immortal realm were enough to protect the 2 sections. Moreover, the disciples of Shenzhen and Celestial Palace were also rapidly growing. In addition to the immortal expansion pill, there was also the nirvana pill. Of course, not every disciple was qualified to obtain the nirvana pill. After all, this pill was really too heaven-defying. One obtained the nirvana pill to improve your physique? Yes, but you must meet the requirements to obtain the Nirvana pill. In Shenzhen, Zhao Jiqing, the elders, Yang Man, Duan Muqing, and the others had all taken Nirvana pill to improve their physique and become geniuses. As for Li Ling, who had just ascended, after taking the Nirvana elixir to improve his physique, he left the sage sect and went out to the immortal realm. This guy was really not a peaceful person. Other than that, Li Su, Little Ape King, and the others had left Glory sect long ago. However, he did not have a Nirvana pill to improve their physique. On this day, Zhao Jiqing found Murong Yu and slowly said, "Murong, I think it's time for me to go to the immortal world to gain experience." Immortal, immortal, immortal. Iman S's was immortal, and he, Zhao Jiqing, nodded. In the immortal realm, I basically did not go out to explore. Although my strength has been increasing, I have very little experience. The immortal realm is so much bigger than the immortal realm. There are too many powerful people. Although it is more cruel than the immortal realm, it is also much richer than the immortal realm. I want to see the immortal realm and enrich my experience. Moreover, the gap between us is a bit big now, Zhao Jiqing said slowly. At this time, Zhao Jiqing's strength had just reached the exalted immortal realm. This was because she had ascended to the immortal realm for some distance. Murong Yu was now in the profound immortal realm. There was a gap of 2 realms between him and Zhao Jiqing. In terms of combat strength, Murong Yu had already reached the perfected golden immortal realm. The gap between him and Zhao Jiqing was even bigger. Looking at Zhao Jiqing, Murong Yu originally wanted to say something, but in the end, he did not say it. He understood Zhao Jiqing's character. Once she decided on something, she would not change her mind. Your strength is not high. If you go out like this, I am worried that you'll be in danger. How about this? I'm also going to leave Shenzhen. Why don't you and I go together? Murong Yu thought for a while and said worriedly. Zhao Jiqing shook her head. No, with you by my side and your protection, I can't achieve my goal of gaining experience. Moreover, I don't want to just be a vase. Murong Yu rolled his eyes and said speechlessly, "You are very beautiful, but you are definitely not a vase. Haven't you managed Shenzhen very well all these years? Moreover, back in the immortal realm, you managed Qing Xian Peak. You are very capable." Speaking of this, Murong Yu could not help but blush with shame. In terms of management, Murong Yu was really not as good as Zhao Jiqing. The truth was very obvious, because Murong Yu was almost always a hands-off manager. Zhao Jiqing was definitely a talent in this aspect. Moreover, Zhao Jiqing's constitution was the immortal spirit body. Her cultivation speed was extremely fast, and her strength was also very strong. "I have already decided," Zhao Jiqing said resolutely. "All right." Murong Yu did not try to persuade her any further. With a flip of his hand, a set of armor emitting a powerful aura appeared in his hand. It was the King Armament level armor that Old Man Yi had given to Murong Yu. This is a King Armament level armor. After you drip a drop of blood on it, you can put it into your body. Moreover, it can transform into different forms according to your thoughts. Murong Yu handed the King Armament armor to Zhao Jiqing. Zhao Jiqing did not stand on ceremony. She directly took the armor and dripped a drop of blood on it to claim ownership. Then, she put it into her body. Seeing this, Murong Yu heaved a sigh of relief. With the protection of the King Armament level armor, Zhao Jiqing's safety was at least guaranteed as long as she did not encounter an expert whose strength was too terrifying. "Jiqing, are you really not going to consider what I said before?" Murong Yu asked as he hugged Zhao Jiqing in his arms. "I haven't decided yet. Once I have, I will marry you immediately. Why are you in such a rush now? Are you thinking of a woman?" Zhao Jiqing looked at Murong Yu with a smile on her face. Murong Yu was very embarrassed. "I am not a pervert. You have always been by my side, but I have given you without any title or share. I just feel a little guilty toward you. That's all. Even if that is all, I am satisfied. Do you still remember how my father broke up an affectionate couple? At that time, you were still called trash. Zhao Jiqing said with a smile. Morongyu rolled his eyes. Those people who called him trash back then, perhaps some of them were already dead. After all, they were not cultivators. Even if they were cultivators, so much time had passed. Some of them might have already died. What do you mean? Are you disdaining me now? Morongyu stared at Zhao Jiqing. Why would I disdain you? You, on the other hand, are getting stronger and stronger. Your future achievements will definitely be extraordinary. As long as you don't disdain me, it is fine. Zhao Jiqing said faintly. Idiot, why would I disdain you? As long as I am alive, I will not disdain you. Because you will always be my woman. This will not change. Morongyu said domineeringly. Zhao Jiqing rolled her eyes at Morongyu and said faintly, Morong, you are very outstanding. Besides me, there must be other women who like you, right? Morongyu felt a headache coming on. What was this? Was he talking to his woman about whether other women liked him? Luckily, Zhao Jiqing dared to say it directly. If it was Morongyu, he would have been very unhappy. You're the only one who thinks so, Morongyu chuckled. However, the beautiful figures of Yu Mengqing and Mu Liue appeared in his mind. Yu Mengqing. Morongyu felt that she liked him a little. And Mu Liue, the woman who had slept with him, Morongyu felt a headache coming on. As far as I know, there's another one. Little Sister Qing. Zhao Jiqing looked at Morongyu strangely. Morongyu looked very calm. She likes me. What does it have to do with me? Don't you like her? Zhao Jiqing asked with some surprise. Morongyu was about to answer when Zhao Jiqing spoke again. Zhao Jiqing's words almost made Morongyu vomit blood. I don't mind. If you really want a woman, then go and find little Sister Qing. I don't think she will reject you. Morongyu staggered and almost fell. Are you asking me to have an affair? Zhao Jiqing's face turned slightly red. Little Sister Qing is a good person. Most importantly, she likes you. If you want to fool around, you might as well be with her. That way, you won't have to fool around outside. Morongyu felt wronged. What did I fool around? Whether you fool around or not, no matter how many women you have in the future, I can only make it big. Also, I will be leaving Shenzhen with little Sister Qing tomorrow. As she spoke, Zhao Jiqing left Morongyu's arms and floated away. Morongyu was stunned. He thought about it over and over again, but he still couldn't figure out what Zhao Jiqing was up to. However, out of man's nature, Morongyu was still a little happy. Of course, it wasn't that Zhao Jiqing was so magnanimous that Morongyu would have to go outside and find a woman in his harem. After Zhao Jiqing left, Morongyu found Yu Mengqing and asked, Are you leaving Shenzhen with Jiqing tomorrow? Yu Mengqing nodded. Big hooligan, you can't bear to leave? Morongyu was a little helpless. I say, can you change the way you address me? I'm the Holy Lord of Shenzhen and the enforcer of Huaxia's cultivation world. I like it. What can you do to me? Yu Mengqing smiled proudly. I can't do anything to you. If you're leaving tomorrow, I'll give you this weapon to protect you. As he spoke, a long sword appeared in Morongyu's hand. It emitted a powerful and terrifying aura. This is a king weapon. Morongyu handed it to Yu Mengqing. The reason why he had only given Zhao Jiqing a king weapon defensive armor and not a king weapon was because Zhao Jiqing already had one. Morongyu had originally planned to give the extra king weapon to Shenzhen as the sex treasure. However, when he found out that Yu Mengqing was leaving Shenzhen to train, he decided to give the king weapon to Yu Mengqing. This is too precious. I can't accept it. Yu Mengqing was a little flustered. She knew how precious a king weapon was. Take it. If you don't want to come back alive after leaving, don't accept it, Morongyu said calmly. At the same time, he stuffed the king weapon into Yu Mengqing's hands and left. Yu Mengqing's eyes reddened as she watched Morongyu leave. Big hooligan, you care about me. I'll definitely come back safely with Sister Jiqing. Chapter 489. Zhao Jiqing and Yu Mengqing both left Shenzhen and went to the celestial world to train. Apart from the two of them, there were many people from Shenzhen who went out to train. Even Duanmu Qing and the others had left Shenzhen. Of course, as elders of Shenzhen, they wouldn't all leave Shenzhen. After all, they still needed to deal with Shenzhen's matters. Murong Yu, the Holy Lord, wasn't in Shenzhen. If even the elders and protectors weren't there, they wouldn't be able to deal with anything immediately if something happened to Shenzhen. Of course, Shenzhen was already on the right track, so they didn't need to take action to manage it. Usually, there were many outer sect elders and protectors under Yangman and these elders. They were enough to deal with ordinary matters. On this day, Murong Yu also left Shenzhen. Little Purple, the big black dog, and the fire-eyed golden ape were still with him. The fire-eyed golden ape was already the palace master of Celestial Palace, but he still chose to follow by Murong Yu's side. In reality, although the fire-eyed golden ape was the palace master of Celestial Palace, he and all the demon kings in Celestial Palace knew that the true controller wasn't the fire-eyed golden ape, but Murong Yu. Of course, Murong Yu only provided resources and the like. Although he controlled Celestial Palace, he didn't interfere with Celestial Palace's affairs. However, even so, the demon kings in the extreme divine realm, including the fire-eyed golden ape, all submitted to Murong Yu. This was because they knew that without Murong Yu, they wouldn't be where they were today. Thus, Murong Yu now controlled two major sects, Chaos Shenzhen and Celestial Palace. Although the strength of these two sects was not strong yet, given enough time, these two sects would definitely rise to power. Independent State, Shangwan Clan, it's been almost 10 years. I wonder where Mr. Murong is now. In a manner, Elder Yi and Elder Shangwan were drinking tea and sighing. Old Man Shangwan glared at Old Man Yi and said helplessly, "Old Man Yi, you've said this thousands of times. Can't you change your lines? You keep saying that you're not annoyed, but I'm annoyed. Ever since Murong Yu left, Old Man, you didn't leave the Shangwan clan. It wasn't that he didn't want to leave, but rather there was something special about the Shangwan clan that attracted him. Instead, he was worried about when Murong Yu would return. Murong Yu had the ability to heal and purify the death aura in his body. Once he left, he might miss out on an expert of this level. Moreover, Murong Yu might not be willing to go to the Yi family to treat him, and the Yi family was quite far from Shangwan. If he missed out on Murong Yu, then no one would be able to purify the death aura in his body. Before Murong Yu left, he said that the first stage of his treatment could last for 10 years. Within 10 years, if there wasn't a second treatment, Old Man Ye's body would be invaded by the death aura again. Thus, as the years passed, and Murong Yu still didn't appear, Old Man Yu became more and more anxious. He was afraid that Murong Yu wouldn't come back. It wasn't that he felt pity for the two royal armaments, but he was worried that no one would be able to treat his death aura. After leaving Nanling, Murong Yu didn't immediately go to the Shangwan clan. Instead, he returned to the Heavenly Punisher Palace. Of the 3 missions, Murong Yu still had one mission that he hadn't completed. Murong Yu still didn't have the strength to complete the Feng State branch's matter. The reason he returned to Shenzhen was because he wanted to inquire about Mo Fo in the Heavenly Punisher Palace. However, to Murong Yu's disappointment, Mo Fo had always been in the wind and fire cultivation world, perhaps because he was afraid of death. If he didn't leave the wind and fire cultivation world, it would be impossible for Murong Yu to kill him. Helpless, Murong Yu could only leave the Heavenly Punisher Palace and come to Lingnan City. He had enough materials and royal armaments, but he didn't have many ordinary immortal artifacts in Shenzhen and Celestial Palace. Of course, Murong Yu encouraged the disciples of the two sects to work hard and get what they wanted. However, Murong Yu also needed a large number of immortal artifacts of various grades. After all, he didn't have to give every disciple an immortal artifact, but as a reward, immortal artifacts were necessary. Although Murong Yu didn't lack elixirs as rewards, they were still immortal artifacts. However, elixirs were still elixirs. They were different from divine weapons and Dharma treasures. This time, he directly visited the Pinnacle Chamber of Commerce. Although the Pinnacle Chamber of Commerce only had an advantage in terms of materials, they also sold various immortal artifacts. After a round of shopping at the Pinnacle Chamber of Commerce, Murong Yu left Lingnan City. As soon as they left Lingnan City, the fire-eyed golden ape nervously said to Murong Yu, "My lord, it seems like someone is following us." Murong laughed coldly. He already knew that these people were following him. Since the moment he appeared in the Heavenly Punisher Palace, there were people following him from the Heavenly Punisher Palace. Other than that, there were many other experts. They were all following Murong because of the royal armaments. Other than them, the experts from the affiliated sects of the Immortal Palace also followed him. There were no immortal kings. Murong sensed for a moment and couldn't help but laugh coldly in his heart. With his current strength and speed, even an ordinary immortal king expert wouldn't be able to kill him. Although he only had 2,000 coiled dragon power, he was stronger than an ordinary golden immortal. "You're Murong." A group of 5 people appeared in front of Murong and blocked Murong's path. 4 golden immortals and a 9 heavens mystic immortal. Such strength was already comparable to some third-rate forces. After all, the strongest person in some third-rate forces was only a 9 heavens mystic immortal. So what if I am? So what if I'm not? Murong stopped and sneered at them. "Woof. F***, a good dog doesn't block the way. You guys really make me feel ashamed." The large black dog barked at the 5 people and stood up, covering his eyes as if he didn't have the face to see anyone. "F***, you're asking for death." Seeing the large black dog's appearance, the 5 people flew into a rage. One of the golden immortals even roared and slashed his sword fiercely at the large black dog. Apart from Murong, the large black dog and the others weren't strong. And little Z was an ordinary little girl who didn't have any strength. If the other party slashed at them, the large black dog and the others would definitely not be able to withstand it. A cold light flashed across Murong's eyes. He took a step forward and punched out, directly dispersing the sword light. Seeing that Murong had actually destroyed the golden immortal's killing blow with a single punch, the 5 of them were shocked. Murong was only a mystic immortal, but his strength was actually so terrifying, he must have other treasures on him. The 5 of them suddenly looked at Murong with blazing eyes. "Kid, hand over the royal weapon and other treasures on you, and I can spare your lives. Otherwise, all of you will die today." The golden immortal who attacked earlier looked at Murong and said with a sinister smile, "How much dragon power do you have?" Murong looked at the golden immortal and suddenly asked, "About 1,500. The golden immortal was stunned at first, and then he couldn't help but answer. However, he immediately flew into a rage. 1,500 dragons of strength? Such trash! Why are you so arrogant?" Murong sneered, and with a flash, he disappeared on the spot. 1,500 points of coiling dragon strength was considered average among perfected golden immortals. After all, the strength of a golden immortal was usually between 1,000 to 3,000 coiled dragon power. In fact, the average golden immortal's dragon power was between 1,000 to 2,000 coiled dragon power. Those who could reach 2,000 coiled dragon power were already considered geniuses, and if they could reach 3,000 coiled dragon power, they would be geniuses among geniuses. The instant Murong disappeared, the great principal golden immortal suddenly felt an intense sense of danger in his heart. His expression suddenly changed, and then he slashed out with his sword. However, just as he slashed out, with a bang, his body suddenly exploded. The golden immortal only felt a sharp pain in his body, and then he saw that his body had been shattered. Then his vision turned black, and he lost all meaning. Swoosh! With a flash, Murong returned to his original position, protecting his original position. Other than the long sword in his hand, it was as if he had never moved. However, there were only 4 people left out of the 5 of them. A 5th grade immortal weapon? It's SOSO. Golden Ape, I'll give it to you. Murong threw the immortal weapon in his hand to the fire-eyed golden ape. A 5th grade immortal weapon? Although it's trash, I'll make do with it. The fire-eyed golden ape said disdainfully and put the long sword into his storage space. How dare you? Seeing Murong kill a golden immortal in an instant, the remaining 4 people were shocked. In particular, the 3 golden immortals were so shocked that their expressions changed. Even the Nine Heavens Xian Immortal was shocked. With his strength, he could kill the Golden Immortal with one punch. However, he was a Nine Heavens Xian Immortal, and Murong Yu was only a Xian Immortal. There was a difference of 3 realms between a Xian Immortal and a Golden Immortal. Although he was shocked, the Nine Heavens Xian Immortal roared. At the same time, the terrifying aura of a Nine Heavens Xian Immortal erupted from his body like a stormy wave, crazily pressing towards Murong Yu and the others. Murong Yu snorted coldly and took a step forward, blocking in front of Little Z and the others. At the same time, Murong Yu punched towards the Nine Heavens Xian Immortal. Elephant pulling fist. At the same time, Murong Yu had already put Little Z and the others into the Hichu Luo Shu. Although he could resist the aura of the Nine Heavens Xian Immortal, the fire-eyed Golden Ape and the others could not, especially Little Z. She did not have any strength. Bang! The two sides instantly exchanged blows, and a terrifying force swept in all directions like a stormy wave, instantly crushing the surrounding ground and trees. Murong Yu, on the other hand, was sent flying as if he had suffered a heavy blow. "You must die today!" The Nine Heavens Xian Immortal roared angrily. With the immortal weapon in his hand, he turned into a phantom and attacked. Chapter 490. Murong Yu's eyes were cold and filled with murderous intent. These people were all disciples of the Heavenly Punishing Palace. This was already the second group of Heavenly Punishing Palace disciples to attack him. Of course, Mo Fo didn't count. The Heavenly Punishing Palace didn't forbid disciples from competing with each other, but they didn't allow disciples from the same sect to kill each other. However, all this time, Murong Yu had only seen these people attacking him because of his royal armament. Not only did they want to steal the royal armament, they also wanted to kill him to silence him. In addition, Murong Yu had a belly full of anger because of Mo Fo. Therefore, at this time, Murong Yu completely exploded. Boom! Black illusory wings of light suddenly erupted from his back and spread out. The illusory wings of light lightly flapped, and Murong Yu had already retreated, avoiding the attack of the Nine Heavens Xian Immortal. Then, Murong Yu's large hand made a grabbing motion in the air. In the next moment, a saber emitting a terrifying aura appeared in his hand. A royal armament. When the saber appeared in Murong Yu's hand, the eyes of some experts hiding nearby instantly exploded with resplendent divine light. Some people even cried out in surprise because of this. According to their understanding of Murong Yu, he had 3 royal armaments. They were all obtained when he defeated Mo Fo in the Heavenly Punishing Palace. Among them, Mo Fo's master had 2 and Yang Lin had 1. After Murong Yu defeated Mo Fo, these 3 royal armaments were obtained by Murong Yu. However, those 3 royal armaments were all long swords, and none of them were sabers. At this time, another saber-like thing appeared in Murong Yu's hand. It was obvious that he had at least 4 royal armaments on him. We must kill him and snatch the treasures in his hands. Everyone was in an uproar. They all looked at Murong Yu with burning eyes. They couldn't wait to pounce on him and kill Murong Yu so that they could seize the divine weapon in his hands. Although Murong Yu had 2,000 units of coiling dragon power, 9 Heaven Xian Immortals had more than 3,000 units of coiling dragon power. No matter how powerful Murong Yu was, he couldn't kill a 9 Heaven Xian Immortal with his bare hands. Because of that, he immediately took out his royal armament. Rumble! Murong Yu hovered in the air, holding the royal armament with both hands. The power in his body circulated wildly, surging into the battle blade in his hand like a tidal wave. As a large amount of energy surged in, the royal armament battle saber was instantly activated. After an earth-shattering explosion, a towering aura burst out, shattering the nearby void and sweeping out in all directions. It was extremely terrifying. Die! Murong Yu growled. Then, the battle blade slashed down at the 9 Heavens Xian Immortal. Cloud-splitting sky. Murong Yu roared in his heart. He actually used the supreme saber technique. The supreme saber technique was a saber technique in the Black Tortoise scripture. Like the heaven-seeking spear technique, it had 2 moves. Although you didn't specifically practice the supreme saber technique, he usually comprehended it. Therefore, when he slashed out, it had some of the essence of the supreme saber technique. Whoosh! A huge black saber radiance that was about 100 meters long shot out from the battle blade. It tore through the void, carrying a terrifying aura that could destroy heaven and earth and strangled the 9 heavens, Xian immortal. Feeling the terrifying power of the saber radiance, the 9 heavens, Xian immortal's expression changed drastically. He roared, full moon splitting sky. The celestial sword in his hand emitted a dazzling white light. It rose rapidly like a full moon. Then, the full moon exploded in midair, turning into billions of fragments. There were billions of fragments, and each fragment contained an extremely terrifying power. Wherever they passed, the sky was directly pierced through. Under the control of the 9 heavens, Xian immortal, the fragments spun rapidly and strangled Yu. Child's play. Yu sneered in his heart. The saber radiance quickly bombarded the light. The illusory light wings on Yu's back kept flapping. His entire body turned black. Following the saber radiance, he was like a stream of light, strangling the 9 heavens, Xian immortal. Rumble. The 9 heavens, Xian immortal's attack was extremely terrifying. It was much stronger than Yu's. If it was a usual Yu, he would have been killed. However, he was facing the power of the royal weapon. Even if Yu did not fully activate the power of the royal weapon, it was not something that the 9 heavens, Xian immortal could withstand. Puff, puff, puff. The billions of fragments from the 9 heavens, Xian immortal, could not shake the black saber radiance at all. Those fragments quickly collapsed and could not stop the speed of the black saber radiance. Full moon slash. Full moon destruction. Full moon in the sky. The 9 heavens, Xian immortal's expression changed drastically as he rapidly retreated. At the same time, he raised his strength to the limit and unleashed one powerful move after another, aiming to kill Yu and the black blade ray that was shooting towards him. Rumble, the power of the 2 sides kept colliding in the void. The terrifying power kept exploding, shattering the void and sinking the earth. It was truly a battle that caused the heavens to fall and the earth to rend and the sun and moon to lose their light. Rumble. Finally, the saber radiance was shattered by the 9 heavens, Xian immortal's full force attack. Haha, I actually blocked the attack of the royal weapon. The 9 heavens, Xian immortal laughed loudly. However, at the same time that he laughed out loud, an extremely terrifying and dangerous aura arose in his heart. The 9 heavens, Xian immortal reacted quickly. He immediately used the 9th grade celestial weapon in his hand to block the attack. Almost at the same time, a flowing light appeared in front of him. At the same time, a black flowing light streaked across the void and slashed at the 9 heavens, Xian immortal from the sky. Crack! The black flowing light streaked across the 9th grade celestial weapon in the 9 heavens, Xian immortal's hand. With a crisp sound, the 9th grade celestial weapon was cut in half from the middle. At the same time, the black flowing light did not slow down. It was about to cut the 9 heavens, Xian immortal into 2 pieces. At this moment, the 9 heavens, Xian immortal sensed the terrifying aura of death. Instantly, he was terrified. You can't kill me. My grandfather is an elder of the heavenly penalty palace. If you kill me, he will avenge me. The 9 heavens, Xian immortal, who was almost scared to death, shouted the moment the saber was about to hit his head. An elder of the heavenly penalty palace? Hearing this, Yu's hand paused for a moment. Those who could become elders of the heavenly penalty palace were at least celestial kings. Moreover, he was not the only one in the heavenly penalty palace. There must be other forces behind him. It was very complicated. If he killed the 9 heavens, Xian immortal, his grandfather, the elder, would definitely seek revenge on Yu. To kill or not to kill, Murong-Yu was somewhat hesitant. After sensing Murong-Yu's hesitation, the nine heavens Xian immortal shouted again. Murong-Yu, if you dare to kill me, you will definitely die. My grandfather will not let you go. Murong-Yu's eyes shone brightly. A terrifying killing intent burst out from his body. Kill. Even if you are an elder of the Heavenly Penalty Palace. So what? Those who offend me will be killed. Murong-Yu roared in his heart. After pausing for a moment, he slashed down with his saber. Bang! Just as Murong-Yu's saber was about to hit the nine heavens Xian immortal's head, a dazzling light burst out from the nine heavens Xian immortal's body. Then, a shield appeared on the surface of the nine heavens Xian immortal and covered him. Boom! The saber slashed down, but did not kill the nine heavens Xian immortal. It only sent him flying. At the same time, Murong-Yu was also sent flying by a terrifying force. Haha, I have the treasure given to me by my grandfather. Murong-Yu, you want to kill me? Just wait for my grandpa to kill you. Ha! The nine heavens Xian immortal laughed crazily. Let's see how long you can last. Murong-Yu sneered in his heart. He quickly rushed up and slashed out sword radiance, bombarding the nine heavens Xian immortal's shield. Since the breakthrough, Murong-Yu's strength had enabled him to activate the power of the royal weapon 10 times in a row. Bang! 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 In the first slash, the shield of the nine heavens Xian immortal remained intact. In the second slash, the shield of the nine heavens Xian immortal began to crack. The nine heavens Xian immortal was shocked and turned around to escape. However, Murong-Yu's speed was so fast that even celestial kings could not do anything about it, let alone him. In the third slash, the shield of the nine heavens Xian immortal began to crack and was about to break. No, you can't kill me. You can't kill me. The nine heavens Xian immortal seemed to have gone crazy. He kept roaring and trying to escape. Go to hell. Murong-Yu slashed out again. Boom. When the sword radiance hit the shield of the nine heavens Xian immortal, the shield of the nine heavens Xian immortal could not withstand it and exploded. It was only a shield of the nine heavens Xian immortal. It was already considered powerful to be able to withstand 5 attacks from the royal weapon. In the beginning, Murong-Yu slashed out 1 slash. Then, Murong-Yu slashed out 4 times. In total, the shield could only withstand 5 attacks. Boom! The moment the shield broke, the nine heavens Xian immortal was not killed. On the contrary, an extremely terrifying aura erupted from his body. What a terrifying aura! It's the aura of a celestial king. After sensing the frightening aura, everyone, including Murong-Yu and the people hiding in the vicinity, were shocked. At this moment, above the nine heavens Xian immortal's head, a shadow appeared in the air and looked at Murong-Yu with murderous intent. How dare you kill my grandson? You could die now. After the shadow appeared, he only looked at Murong-Yu coldly. Then, he reached out his big hand and grabbed at Murong-Yu. The celestial king attacked. The power of the celestial king was terrifying. Wherever the big hand passed, the void shattered. The terrifying power spread in all directions like stormy waves. Murong-Yu, who bore the brunt of it, was almost forced to his knees. Chapter 491. An immortal king realm expert was only one realm away from a nine-heaven Xian immortal, but the gap between them was like a natural chasm. Even if they were both immortal kings, the gap between them was huge. Back then, Murong-Yu had been chased by that young, immortal king for a few months, so he had a certain understanding of the strength of an immortal king. However, when this old man erupted with the strength of an immortal king, Murong-Yu knew that this person's strength was far from what the young immortal king who chased him could compare to. If that young immortal king fought with this old man, Murong-Yu believed without a doubt that the young immortal king would definitely not be a match for the old man. He would even be killed by the old man with a single slap. When the immortal king attacked, the world changed color. Before the terrifying power descended on Murong-Yu's body, the terrifying aura that was emitted had already forced Murong-Yu to his knees. Break for me. feeling the terrifying pressure of the old man. Even though Murong Yu's body had reached the level of a grade 7 immortal artifact, it was almost crushed. It had to be said that when he was in the golden immortal realm, Murong Yu's body had already reached the level of a grade 6 immortal artifact. After breaking through to the Xian immortal realm, his body had yet to reach the level of a grade 7 immortal artifact. However, every time Murong Yu broke through to a great realm, he would welcome a heavenly tribulation. After this heavenly tribulation, Murong Yu even used the power of the tribulation thunder to raise the strength of his body to the level of a grade 7 immortal artifact. However, how could Murong Yu just let the other party destroy his body? With a furious roar, a powerful aura suddenly erupted from his body. Instantly, the old man's terrifying aura was shaken away. At the same time, the illusory light wings flapped, and Murong Yu immediately retreated. However, how could the attack of an immortal king be so easy to dodge? Moreover, this old man's strength was probably not an ordinary immortal king. The huge hand reached out and tore through space. Its speed was comparable to that of light, and it appeared before Murong Yu in an instant. Then its 5 fingers bent into claws and grabbed down fiercely at Murong Yu's head, wanting to kill Murong Yu directly. If Murong Yu's head was grabbed by the old man, even if his body was a grade 7 immortal equipment, it would still explode. Of course, Murong Yu would not let the old man have his way. He roared angrily again, and a pitch-black light burst out from the saber in his hand. He slashed upward, intending to cut the old man's big hand into pieces. The old man snorted coldly. His big hand didn't avoid Murong Yu's head. Although Murong Yu had a royal weapon, the old man was extremely powerful. He was an expert among immortal kings. If Murong Yu was an immortal king, he would have some reservations about attacking with a king armament. But now, even if Murong Yu had a king armament, it wouldn't pose much of a threat to him. Therefore, he didn't dodge Murong Yu's attack at all. As long as his big hand grabbed, Murong Yu's head would be crushed, and he would die tragically on the spot. The old man's attack was very fast. It was so fast that Murong Yu didn't even have time to retreat. His hand had already grabbed down. However, just when the old man thought that Murong Yu was definitely going to die, he realized that his attack was actually blocked. On the surface of Murong Yu's body, a near-transparent scroll appeared and enveloped Murong Yu's entire body, forming a yellow shield. The old man's attack didn't land on Murong Yu's head, but on the shield. It was this shield that blocked the old man's attack. Murong Yu was a little surprised. He looked at Murong Yu's head, only to see layers of ripples above his head. This was caused by his attack. Boom! At the same time, Murong Yu's battle saber had already ruthlessly slashed at the old man's body. The old man snorted coldly. His big hand shook violently, and a circle of light erupted. A terrifying power also spread out and ruthlessly smashed against the king armament battle saber. After a loud bang, Murong Yu seemed to have suffered a heavy blow. A strong force came, and the battle saber in his hand was almost sent flying. Even so, the web between his thumb and index finger was shattered. Almost his entire palm was shattered. Bang! At the same time, the old man's claw turned into a palm and slapped Murong Yu's head. With a PU sound, although the shield on Murong Yu's body wasn't shattered, his entire body was slammed deep into the ground by the old man's power. The old man's strength was terrifying. It hasn't shattered yet. The old man was surprised. Although he didn't use much strength, the palm strike just now was enough to injure or kill an ordinary immortal king. This magic treasure is very likely to surpass a king armament. The old man's eyes revealed a blazing light. He stretched out his big hand and directly grabbed at Murong Yu, who was deep in the ground. In fact, the shield on Murong Yu's body really was an existence that surpassed a king armament. Moreover, it was an existence that surpassed a grade. Hichu Luo Shu. It turned out that long ago, when Murong Yu realized that he couldn't dodge the old man's attack, he immediately took out the Hichu Luo Shu. Of course, the best way for Murong Yu was to enter the Hichu Luo Shu world. Then, no matter how powerful the old man was, he wouldn't be able to do anything to Murongyu in the Hichu Luo Shu. It was just that Murong you couldn't enter. This was because although the old man's attack didn't seal the void, it shattered the world and made the space unstable. If Murongyu forcefully entered the Hichu Luo Shu world, he might enter a different space. An alternate dimension was an extremely dangerous place. The spatial turbulence within it was so great that even immortal kings would only end up dead if they entered it. With Murongyu's current strength, if he entered the different space, he would definitely be crushed into powder by the spatial turbulence. Therefore, Murongyu didn't enter the Hichu Luo Shu world. Pooh! After being slapped by an immortal king expert, even if the Hichu Luo Shu blocked a large part of the attack, a small part of the power still bombarded Murongyu's body. Even if it was only a small part of the power, Murongyu was still injured and spat out a mouthful of blood. Fortunately, his physical body had reached the level of a 7th grade immortal artifact. Otherwise, if it was still a 6th grade immortal artifact, his entire body would have been shattered. Of course, with the protection of the Hichu Luo Shu, it was impossible for Murongyu to die, even if he wanted to. Damn it, this old bastard's strength is so terrifying. He must be the elder of the Heavenly Punisher Palace. Damn it, I'll kill you with my own hands in the future. Murongyu's heart was burning with rage. However, at this moment, a terrifying aura rushed out. The old man's big hand had already shattered the ground and was grabbing at him. Bastard! Murongyu was furious. This old bastard was too strong. Even if he had a royal weapon, he was still not his opponent. Moreover, although Murongyu's speed wasn't fast, it seemed that the old man's speed was faster. Can I only go back to the cultivation world? Murongyu felt helpless. In terms of strength and speed, he wasn't the old man's opponent. Moreover, he didn't want to enter the Hichu Luo Shu space. However, if he wanted to escape, there was still a way to teleport back to the cultivation world. This teleportation was different from entering the Hichu Luo Shu. During the teleportation, it directly connected to the origin of the cultivation world in China. At that time, the origin energy would wrap around Murongyu and not let Murongyu enter the different space. Instead, it would directly pull him back to the cultivation world. Once Murongyu returned to the cultivation world, the old man wouldn't be able to continue attacking. He didn't have the ability to attack from the immortal realm to the cultivation world. Even if he could, he wasn't Murongyu's opponent. As long as Murongyu used the origin energy, he could directly kill the old man. Am I going to give my first teleportation to this old bastard? Murongyu felt helpless. He was afraid that he would really have to give his first teleportation to the cultivation world to this old man. Otherwise, even if Hichu Luo Shu was there, he would still be shocked to death by the old man's attack. Seeing that the old man's big hand was about to grab him, Murongyu also prepared to teleport back to the cultivation world. However, at this time, a somewhat childish voice entered Murongyu's ears. Old man, damn old man, you bullied my big brother. See if I don't beat you to death. See if I don't beat you to death. When this voice sounded in Murongyu's ears, the big hand that was grabbing Murongyu also retracted. What's going on? That's Xiao Zi's voice? Murongyu was shocked. His body swayed as he rushed up from the ground. What's going on? It can't be true, right? Murongyu rushed up and was stunned by the scene in front of him. Not far away, in the void, a petite figure was floating in the sky. This person was Little Z. Not far in front of Little Z, the old man in the Immortal King realm was in a very sorry state at this time. He was covering his head and running away like a rat. At this time, Little Z's small hand was constantly waving. Every time she waved, an invisible force would flow and then hit the old man fiercely. Under the attack of the invisible force, the old man fled in all directions. However, no matter how he ran, Little Z's power always hit him. He actually had no way to escape. Is she really Little Z? Murongyu looked at Little Z in the void with a face full of shock and disbelief. And so did the others. Damn old man, you bully my big brother. I'll beat you to death. Little Z seemed to be very angry, and her small hand kept hitting the old man. Every time she waved her hand, there seemed to be an invisible hand in the void that hit the old man fiercely. After looking at her for a while, Morong Yu discovered that little Z still looked like an ordinary mortal girl. She didn't have any power in her body. However, at this time, who would believe that little Z was just an ordinary little girl? And what shocked Morong Yu the most was that the old man in the Immortal King realm was actually unable to escape. It seemed that he had been dodging in a certain area and did not even attack little Z. This was really too strange. Chapter 492. Is this really little Z? Looking at the angry little Z in the void, Morong Yu was a little puzzled. In addition to being puzzled, he was more shocked. Who is that little girl? Why is she so terrifying? Seeing little Violet constantly waving her hand, the old man felt as if he was being attacked by an invisible hand, even though there wasn't any fluctuation of power in her hand. Every time little Z waved her hand, he was fiercely attacked. It was very terrifying and shocking. I'm going to kill you. The old man, who had suppressed Morong Yu to the point that he couldn't even put up the slightest resistance, was now completely powerless against Xiao Zi's attacks. All he could do was constantly roar as he dodged. However, no matter how he dodged, he was unable to escape from a certain area and was constantly attacked by little Z. At this moment, the old man kept roaring. In his anger, there was a strong sense of humiliation. After all, he was an immortal king. Yet now, he was completely defeated by little Z, who was around 7 or 8 years old and looked like an ordinary little girl. Moreover, he was completely powerless to fight back. Such humiliation made him want to die. The old man kept roaring and finally freed his hand. He shot out a terrifying power that shattered the void and strangled little Z in the air. Once little Z was strangled by this power, she would definitely be unable to resist and would be strangled into powder. Be careful. Seeing this, Morong Yu was shocked and hurriedly warned. At the same time, his surging power crazily poured into the saber in his hand, wanting to kill the Celestial King old man. However, even if Morong Yu had a royal armament level saber, he was no match for the old man. He was unable to withstand a single blow from the old man. If he wanted to kill the old man, there was only one possibility now, and that was to use the Cosmos Bow and the heaven-shaking arrow. However, after Morong Yu used the Cosmos Bow and the heaven-shaking arrow last time, it caused those Celestial Emperors to try to snatch it, and he almost died in the hands of those Celestial Emperors. Therefore, since that incident, Morong Yu had already decided that he would not use the Cosmos Bow again until he had enough ability to protect himself. That was because once he used the Bow of Cosmos, he would be the one to die. Those immortal emperors were simply too terrifying. In other parts of the immortal world, even extremely far places could feel the Cosmos Bow's aura. Even if little Z was in danger now, Morong Yu did not dare to use the Chinquin Bow. Once he used the Bow of Heaven and Earth, not only would he not be able to save this kid, but he would also likely kill little Z and himself. However, little Z's strength was obviously more than that. While Morong Yu was madly pouring energy into the royal armament in his hand, Little Purple had already made her move. Her small hand gently slapped down against the power that was strangling her. Bang! After a muffled sound, the old man's terrifying power that could even shatter the void exploded. There was no earth-shattering explosion, nor was there any dazzling divine light. There was only a muffled sound as the old man's power dissipated in the air. What a strange and terrifying attack. Except for Little Purple, everyone who saw this scene could not help but be surprised. Little Z's attack still did not carry any energy fluctuations. That was the terrifying power of Celestial King, but it was directly scattered. It was truly strange and terrifying. Bang, bang, bang. It seemed that after the old man's attack, little Z was very angry, and her hands moved even faster. The power also seemed to be increasing. The old man was constantly attacked and beaten by the invisible power, and he no longer had the strength to fight back. He could not even dodge, because at this time, he had been beaten into the ground by Little Z's power, and only his head was exposed. This celestial king expert is doomed today. This thought appeared in the hearts of the onlookers, and some of them, even involuntarily, retreated a distance. Even a celestial king was no match for Little Z. So how could they? If they still dared to have any ideas about Murongyu at this time, it was no different from courting death. Even the Nine Heavens Xian immortal from the Heavenly Punishing Palace, who was previously Murongyu's opponent, had already retreated a distance, then turned around and flew into the distance. This bastard abandoned his grandfather and ran away alone. Whoosh! Murongyu had been paying attention to these people. When he saw the Nine Heavens Xian immortal running away, he flapped his illusory light wings slightly, and then turned into a stream of light and chased after him. Die! Murongyu's speed was much more terrifying than that of the Nine Heavens Xian immortal, and it did not take long for him to catch up. He roared and slashed down with a war saber in his hand. Boom! A terrifying power comparable to that of a celestial king expert suddenly erupted, and a black light shot straight into the sky. Wherever it passed, a terrifying crack was torn in the void, and it was ruthlessly strangling the Nine Heavens Xian immortal. Grandpa, save me. The Nine Heavens Xian immortal was no match for Murongyu, and the shield on his body was broken by Murongyu before. At this time, he was already terrified. Facing Murongyu, he did not even have the strength to fight back. He screamed and did not dare to resist, and quickly fled into the distance. At the same time, he screamed for help in horror. Unfortunately, his celestial king grandfather was being tortured by Little Z. How could he have the chance to come and save him? The gap between a Nine Heavens Xian immortal and a celestial king was huge, like a natural chasm. Even if it was only a royal weapon, it was not something that the Nine Heavens Xian immortal could resist. Bang! The terrifying saber light that Murongyu slashed out tore the void, crossed countless space-time, and directly hit the Nine Heavens Xian immortal. The Nine Heavens Xian immortal's defensive treasure had been broken by Murongyu, and his grandfather was only an elder of the Heavenly Penalty Palace, so he did not have so many treasures to give to the Nine Heavens Xian immortal. Therefore, the Nine Heavens Xian immortal only had time to scream before he was crushed into powder by the saber light, and not even a trace of him was left. The Nine Heavens Xian immortal was dead. Seeing this, the onlookers fell silent. Murongyu, a Xian immortal, had killed a Nine Heavens Xian immortal. This was unbelievable. However, who asked him to have a royal weapon? As long as he could destroy the power of a royal weapon, even a golden immortal or a mighty immortal could kill a Nine Heavens Xian immortal, let alone a Xian immortal. However, was the power of a mighty immortal enough to activate the power of a royal weapon? Hurry up and run. After seeing Murongyu kill the Nine Heavens Xian immortal, there were 3 golden immortals with him. At this time, the 3 golden immortals were extremely frightened. They shouted and fled in all directions. Helping the evildoer, you deserve to die. Murongyu sneered. He flapped his illusory light wings and disappeared on the spot. Bang! 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 Clouds of blood mist exploded in the void. These golden immortals were no match for Murongyu, who had a royal weapon. They could not escape at all and were killed by Murongyu one by one. After killing those people, Murongyu walked back to the main hall. At this time, the old man had already climbed out of the ground. However, to Murongyu's surprise, the old man's body seemed to be a little illusory. This is not a real body, but just a power clone. Murongyu exclaimed and instantly reacted. However, after he reacted, Murongyu's expression was a little ugly. This bastard's power clone was so powerful that it was even stronger than an ordinary immortal king. Then, how terrifying was his real body? What made Murongyu even more disgusted was that this old bastard was an elder of the Heavenly Penalty Palace. He had killed his grandson, and later, he would destroy his clone. This hatred was huge. You're just a mere elder. I'm not even afraid of giants like the Immortal Palace and the Devil's Sect. Why would I be afraid of you? Murong Yu sneered and strode forward. Big brother, his power has been weakened a lot by me. You can kill him now. At this time, little Z had calmed down. When she saw Murong Yu coming over, she said with a smile. Murong Yu was stunned. It seemed that this little girl did not have the intention to kill the old man before. Instead, she was constantly weakening the old man's power. And it was obvious that she was weakening the old man's power to give him a chance to kill this old man. In the distance, when everyone heard little Z's words, they all felt a chill in their hearts. At the same time, they all retreated far away. Murong Yu smiled and strode forward. Then he slashed out with the royal weapon in his hand. Bang! After a muffled sound, the old man was immediately chopped into pieces. His power had been weakened by a large part. He could not even block Murong Yu's ordinary attack. Little Z, let's leave first. After killing the old man's clone with one slash, Murong Yu picked up little Z, unfolded the phantom light wings, and flew into the distance. Heavenly Penalty Palace. In a palace, an old man was sitting cross-legged on the ground, cultivating. If Murong Yu were here, he would realize that this old man was the original body of the clone that he had killed before. Suddenly, the old man who was cultivating opened his eyes. At the same time, a terrifying aura emanated from his body. Bang. The terrifying power swept in all directions like a stormy sea. Immediately, all the furnishings in the palace were bombarded into pieces by this terrifying power. In fact, the entire hall began to shake as if it was about to be shattered by this terrifying power. The extremely terrifying aura passed through the palace and rushed into the sky, alarming countless immortals in Heavenly Penalty Palace. At the same time, the old man flipped his hand, and a broken jade slip appeared in his hand. Puff! Suddenly, the old man spat out a mouthful of blood. The old man's face immediately turned pale, but more than that, there was endless anger. Chapter 493. Immortal World, Heavenly Punishing Palace. Bang! All of a sudden, an extremely terrifying aura soared into the sky and swept in all directions, instantly alarming many immortals in the Heavenly Punishing Palace. Then, one of the palaces burst open, and a figure shot up into the sky, bursting with a terrifying aura. Murderous intent filled the air, and the figure turned into a stream of light and flew out of the Heavenly Penalty Palace. Isn't that Elder Han Yong? He seems to be very angry. What's going on? Many people asked the people around them when they saw the fleeting black figure. Elder Han Yong is a late-stage Immortal King expert. Who made him so angry? Han Yong, an elder of the Heavenly Punishing Palace, a late-stage Immortal King expert with terrifying strength. He was one of the experts in the Heavenly Punishing Palace. I think something must have happened to his precious grandson, Han Bo. Someone sneered in a low voice. Shoo, lower your voice. Do you want to die? If Elder Han Yong hears you, not only will he kill you, but I will also be implicated. Another immortal beside the immortal who spoke before said nervously, Bah, he is powerful and an elder of the Heavenly Punishing Palace. So what? Everyone knows what his family is like. He has done all kinds of bad things and is arrogant and despotic. F***CK. If it weren't for my lack of strength, I would have killed Han Bo personally. Motherf***Ker. The guy who spoke immediately said angrily. Hearing this guy speak so loudly, the nearby disciples of the Heavenly Punishing Palace all looked over in surprise. Then, they all took a few steps back in unison, distancing themselves from the immortal who spoke. Coward, coward! The Heavenly Punishing Palace disciple who spoke looked at the people around him with contempt. You bastard, if you want to die, don't drag us down with you. The immortal's good friend immediately transmitted his voice to the immortal who spoke. Humph! The angry immortal only snorted coldly and then shut his mouth. After all, he was still too weak. Once Han Yong knew that he was talking about him behind his back, he would definitely die. Hanbo was the Nine Heavens Xian immortal who was killed by Murong-yu. Han Yong was Hanbo's grandfather, the elder of the Heavenly Retribution Palace. Murong-yu had killed one of his clones. Outside Lingnan City, in the area where Murong-yu had killed Hanbo Wush. First, an extremely terrifying presence surged over from the horizon. Wherever it passed, space shattered. Some of the weaker immortals were instantly crushed to the ground. That said, even though that aura was extremely frightening and contained boundless killing intent, it was still extremely frightening. However, it was clear that the owner of this aura didn't dare to go too far. Otherwise, many immortals would have been killed by this terrifying aura. After all, this place was near Lingnan City. If this person was so arrogant, some experts who couldn't stand by and watch would take action. Although Han Yong's strength was formidable, those who were stronger than him could be found everywhere. Han Yong's speed was extremely fast. From a moment he discovered that Han Bo's soul crystal had shattered, he had quickly rushed over. It did not take him much time. With a sway of his body, Han Yong stopped in midair. Then he reached out with his large hand. A layer of ripples formed in the air before him, like the surface of water. Then a series of images appeared in front of him. From Han Bo blocking Murong-yu to the eruption of their great battle, to Han Bo's death and the death of his clone, to Murong-yu's speedy departure. It was as if the scene was replaying itself, except that there was no voice to speak. When he saw Han Bo killed, Han Yong's rage grew even more terrifying. Boundless killing intent filled the air. The terrifying killing intent directly crushed some of the plants below into pieces. However, when he saw that his clone was being beaten by little Lilac, a look of terror appeared on his face. Although his clone was only a power clone, its strength was far inferior to his true self's. However, it still possessed some of the strength of his true self, and would have no problem killing an ordinary immortal king. However, he saw that his clone was completely powerless in front of the little girl. Could it be that she's an immortal lord? Han Yong's eyes flashed with fear. If little Lilac was really an immortal lord, he would not be her match at all with his current strength unless he broke through to the immortal lord realm. An immortal lord? Han Yong frowned deeply, his killing intent surging. How terrifying. Is this the strength of an immortal king? Some of the immortals who had been lurking nearby and were also eyeing Murong-yu had not left in time before Han Yong's arrival. At this moment, under Han Yong's terrifying aura, these people were ruthlessly suppressed to the ground. They crawled on the ground, motionless, and looked at Han Yong in the distance with horror. An immortal lord? How could she be an immortal lord? This is impossible. Han Yong roared in his heart, a cold glint flashing in his eyes. At the same time, he suddenly reached out with his large hand and grabbed at the air. Ah! One of the immortals who had been suppressed to the ground let out a cry of horror. A huge suction force acted on him, sucking him over. In the end, he was caught by Han Yong. "Senior, please spare my life. This has nothing to do with me." This immortal master of the Nine Heavens begged loudly with a face full of horror. However, Han Yong only snorted coldly, and then a huge divine consciousness violently entered this immortal king's memory. He actually began to read his memory directly. Murong-yu, a little girl without any strength. The immortal's memory was similar to the previous scene, but there were thoughts of a Nine Heavens Xian immortal, a little girl without any strength. It's impossible that she has no strength. Perhaps she has already hidden her strength. Han Yong's face darkened. The immortal in his hand was not weak. He had already reached the mid-stage of the Nine Heavens Xian immortal. He still could not sense little Lilac's strength. This meant that either little Lilac had no strength, or she had hidden her aura so that he could not see it. Immortal monarch, or at least an expert of the same realm as me. Han Yong's face darkened as he guessed little Lilac's realm. No matter who you are, no matter what strength you have, you must die. Han Yong's aura suddenly became violet. He squeezed his hand, bang. The immortal in his hand was directly crushed by him, turning into a cloud of blood mist and dissipating between heaven and earth. Han Yong's figure swayed, and he disappeared from where he was. Han Yong did not chase after them. If little Lilac's strength was really on par with his, or if little Lilac was really an immortal monarch, he would be courting death if he rushed up rashly. He wanted revenge, and to kill Murong Yu and little Lilac. He would not be so reckless. In the Hichu, Luoshu world, after leaving the scene of Han Bo's death, Murong Yu and little Lilac entered the Hichu, Luoshu world. At this moment, Murong Yu was looking at little Lilac and questioning her. Little Lilac, where did you come from? Why are you so powerful? Murong Yu looked at little Lilac and asked. For a long time, little Lilac had never revealed a trace of her strength except for her innate magic powers. They had always thought that little Lilac was just an ordinary little girl. However, was little Lilac really an ordinary little girl? Murong Yu had always had doubts about this. After all, many years had passed since he met little Lilac outside the Relics. At that time, little Lilac was about 7 or 8 years old. Now little Lilac was still 7 or 8 years old. After so many years, little Lilac did not seem to have grown up. This was already unusual, and little Lilac's performance today was even more shocking. Big brother, am I not little Lilac? Who else could I be? Little Lilac looked at Murong Yu and said with a smile, I'm asking about your real identity, and how you were able to defeat that old man. He is an immortal king. Murong Yu looked at little Lilac and said in a low voice, I don't remember what happened before. Little Lilac's face showed a pitiful expression as she looked at Murong Yu, but soon her pitiful expression turned into anger. That old man dared to bully Big Brother. I will kill him. No matter who dares to bully Big Brother, they're all bad guys and have to die. Little Lilac will kill them all. While speaking, Murong Yu noticed a cold, murderous intent in little Lilac's eyes. Hearing little Lilac's words, Murong Yu was a little moved. Maybe little Lilac used to be a great person, but now, she's just little Lilac. No matter what, she will not do harm to me. She exposed her strength this time just to save me. Why should I be entangled with her identity? After thinking about it, Murong Yu no longer entangled with little Lilac's real identity, and said, It's too dangerous. Big Brother has a way to save his life. In the future, without my permission, you can't come out, understand? I know. Little Lilac's face changed very quickly, but this time, her face was full of smiles again. It's good that you really know, otherwise Big Brother will ignore you in the future. Murong Yu said helplessly. He said many times that little Lilac could not run out casually, but little Lilac did not answer loudly every time. In fact, she did not listen at all. Don't worry, Big Brother, little Lilac is very powerful. Just like the old man just now. He can't beat me at all. Big Brother, if you encounter bad guys that you can't beat in the future, you have to remember to ask me for help. I will definitely kill those bad guys. Little Lilac looked at Murong Yu and said with a smile, Well, your big brother can deal with those bad guys alone. Murong Yu rolled his eyes, but he was a little depressed in his heart, although he was no longer entangled with little Lilac's identity. But if he relied on a little girl to protect him, it would be really shameful. Strength, I'm still not strong enough. Murong Yu growled in his heart. After dealing with Elder Ye's death chi, I have to find a way to improve my strength. Murong Yu's strength improved very quickly, but the speed of his strength improvement was far less than the enemies he provoked. Immortal King, Immortal Monarch, Immortal Emperor, these enemies were too powerful. Thinking of these enemies, Murong Yu could not help but have a headache. Chapter 494. Immortal Realm, Lone Prefecture, Shangwan Family. Murong Yu led the fiery-eyed golden ape and little purple rode on the big black dog's back as they slowly entered the Shangwan World City gates. Hello, Mr. Murong. This time, no one stopped Murong Yu from entering the Shangwan family. On the contrary, everyone was very enthusiastic when they saw Murong Yu, especially Shangwan Yi, who tried his best to stop Murong Yu from entering the Shangwan family. He was very enthusiastic now. At this moment, Shangwan Yi finally understood the gap between him and Murong Yu. He was only an outer disciple of the Shangwan family, while Murong was someone who was friends with their old clan leader. Just this alone was not a height that he could reach. Therefore, the kid quickly adjusted his mentality. Rather than being hated by Murong, why not be more enthusiastic to him now? Moreover, Murong was a divine doctor. Perhaps there would be a day when he, Shangwan, would have to beg Murong for help. Murong merely nodded his head in response to their change in attitude and enthusiasm. The difference in their status meant that they were not anxious. Although Shangwan had wanted to kill Murong before, Murong was too lazy to be calculative with people who were not on the same level as him. For example, when Murong was still in Murong's house, many people had bullied him. However, would Murong still be calculative with him now? The higher one's power, the higher one's vision. Some things back then were just a joke to Murong now. Old man Yi, the two of you should stop wandering around here. Especially you, old man Yi. You're making me dizzy. Can't you stop for a while? Before Murong got close to his manor, he heard old Master Shangwan's voice from the manor next to his. Old man Shangwan, don't make sarcastic remarks here. You've already been cured by Mr. Murong. Of course, you're not in a hurry. However, it's almost 10 years. Mr. Murong said that the death aura would not spread within 10 years. Mr. Murong hasn't returned yet. Do you think something happened to him? Old man Yi, why are you in a hurry? It's not even 10 years yet, right? Besides, although Brother Murong isn't very strong, it's not impossible to kill him. Moreover, doesn't he still have those treasures we gave him? Not to mention me, the king weapon and the jade slip. You gave him that jade slip. If he was in danger, he would definitely ask for help. However, the fact that you didn't receive the message means that Brother Murong is fine. Elder Yi and Old Master Shangwan did give Murong a jade. That jade slip didn't have any use. It was only used to transmit messages. Once Murong crushed that jade slip, they would receive the message immediately and rush over to save him. However, when Murong was almost killed by Han Yang's clone, he didn't even think about crushing that jade slip. After all, Lingnan State was too far away from the independent state. Even if Murong crushed the jade slip, Elder Yi and the others wouldn't be able to arrive in time. With their strength, they could definitely kill Han Yang, who was only an immortal king. You guys go back first. I'll go to old brother Shangwan. Murong turned around and said to little Z and the other two. At the same time, he walked into old Master Shangwan's manor. Old brother Shangwan, Elder Yi, you're talking bad about me behind my back. Murong's voice traveled in as he entered the manor. Mr. Murong, you're finally back. Elder Yi was overjoyed when he saw Murong walk in and hurried to welcome him. At the same time, Shangwan Bo and another middle-aged man also walked over. Luckily, I came back early and heard you guys talking bad about me behind my back, Murong said with a smile. Although old Master Shangwan and the others were strong, they didn't release their divine consciousness. Therefore, they only discovered Murong when he arrived at the manor. Otherwise, with their strength, they would have been discovered before they even reached the Shangwan clan. Haha, old man is very worried about you. However, he's more worried about himself, Shangwan Bo said with a laugh. Elder Ye's face reddened. That's true. However, I'm not worried about myself. Murong laughed and didn't mind. He only looked at the middle-aged man. Murong was shocked by what he saw. Immortal Emperor. Murong almost cried out in surprise. Yes, Murong felt the aura of an immortal emperor from the other party. Although Murong didn't know anyone at the level of an immortal emperor, he wasn't unfamiliar with the aura of an immortal emperor. Although the middle-aged man had tried his best to restrain his aura and didn't even reveal his aura. However, Murong's senses were very sharp, and he also felt the obscure aura of the other party. Immortal Emperor. This was what shocked Murong. Apart from that, Murong was also surprised to find that the Immortal Emperor only had a good right hand. However, there was only a small part of his left arm, and a large part of the lower part was missing. In the immortal world, with the strength of an immortal, it was very easy to repair their injured limbs. They just needed to use some energy. It was very common to regenerate a broken limb. However, this expert who had reached the level of Immortal Emperor had lost an arm. If he didn't have some weird fetish to not repair his broken arm, then he couldn't repair it. Seeing this immortal emperor expert here, Murong, you could vaguely guess the reason why he was here. The middle-aged, immortal emperor probably didn't have any special fetish. It was very likely that his broken arm couldn't be repaired, and it was very likely that he came here to seek Murong Yu's help. You came back just in time. He's our friend, Guan Jia. He has some injuries on his body, which is his broken arm. He wants you to take a look. Shangguan Bo hurriedly introduced. Hello, Mr. Murong. Guan Jia obviously didn't speak much. When he was introduced, he only said a few words in a low voice. Or it could be said that Guan Jia, an immortal emperor, looked down on Murong Yu, who was only in the profound immortal realm. After all, in front of an immortal emperor, people who hadn't reached the immortal emperor realm were all ants. If they were to be further divided, they would be the strong and the weak ants. Murong Yu nodded. I'll try my best to take a look. Senior Guan, don't have too much hope. Haha, brother, if you can cure this guy, you'll gain a lot of benefits. He's an immortal emperor expert. Once you cure him, I believe your name will spread throughout the immortal realm. At that time, even if others want to kill you, they'll hesitate a lot. It'll save you a lot of trouble. I'll try my best. Murong Yu said lightly. Guan Jia was an immortal emperor expert. Murong Yu didn't have much confidence in curing a broken arm that even he couldn't repair. Seeing that Murong Yu was actually so calm, Guan Jia's eyes couldn't help but reveal a flash of light. If it was someone else, once they knew that he was an immortal emperor, how could they be so calm? If they weren't inexplicably excited, they would be very restrained. Unfortunately, the person he met was Murong Yu. Although this was the first time Murong Yu came into close contact with an immortal emperor. But he was almost killed by those immortal emperors earlier. To immortal emperors, in Murong Yu's eyes, they were only slightly stronger for the time being. And he believed that not long after, his strength would also reach immortal emperor, or even higher. After all, something that could make immortal emperors helpless was not an ordinary existence. Don't be in a hurry to talk. Mr. Murong, it's almost 10 years now. Can you take a look at me first? I'm afraid the death qi has spread. Elder Yi said anxiously. Old man Yi, Brother Murong just came back. You should let him rest for a while first, right? The death qi on your body has been there for so many years. It doesn't matter if you wait a few more days. Old man Shangguan, you're fine. You can make sarcastic remarks here. Old man Yi glared at Shangguan Bo and said. Murong Yu blushed with shame and could only say, Okay, stop arguing. I'll treat Elder Yi first. Although the death qi on Elder Ye's body was violent, it couldn't withstand a single blow from Murong Yu. If Murong Yu wanted, he could purify all the death qi in one go. However, Murong Yu couldn't do so much. Okay, after a few more treatments, all the death qi on your body will be purified. Murong Yu withdrew his hand from Elder Ye's back and said at the same time, Thank you. Elder Yi quickly thanked Murong Yu when he felt a part of his strength disappear. I received 2 king weapons from you. Murong Yu smiled. Haha, although my old life isn't worth much, it's not only worth 2 king weapons. Elder Yi laughed heartily. If Murong Yu cured him, then he owed Murong Yu a life. How could a life be repaid with merely 2 royal armaments? When Guan Jia saw Murong Yu and Elder Yi coming out of the house, a glint flashed across his eyes, and a trace of astonishment flashed across his face. As a celestial emperor-level expert and a friend of Elder Yi and Shangguan Bo, he knew how terrifying the death qi on Elder Ye's body was. Previously, when he heard that Murong Yu had cured Shangguan Bo and could purify Elder Ye's death qi, Guan Jia didn't believe it. After all, seeing is believing and hearing is false. However, now he felt that Elder Yi, after coming out and before going in, had an earth-shattering change. He could even feel that Elder Ye's aura had become much stronger, but the death qi had weakened a lot. He could actually purify the death qi. Guan Jia was shocked. At the same time, he was also somewhat excited. Even though he had lost a hand, it didn't affect his life much. However, without an arm, it was still somewhat inconvenient, and he couldn't use his full strength. If Morong you could heal his arm and let him regrow it, then his strength would definitely increase a lot. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.